Hi, Rusty.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I was just basking in the glory of a delicious Walmart self-rising crust supreme pizza. Couldn't drag myself away. Hope y'all weren't too worried about me because when I looked up at the clock and had to hustle over to the computer, I saw there were 6 people waiting for me. That's just on the YouTube side. So welcome, everyone. It is Friday the 29th of, no, it's not. It's Monday the 29th of June. Glad I caught myself in that. But it's been an odd Monday for me. I almost had a complete and total computer failure, but it came to the rescue, and we're all in good shape. I hope it looks okay and sounds okay to everybody. And so right now we got Peter on with us, and we got John Miller in with us, and we've got Tom Randall in here with us. And so got 4 videoers, including me, 5 now, Gary Sinclair, and a whole handful of YouTubers are slewing in. So welcome, everyone. I hope y'all had a great weekend. We had a pretty good weekend here. I got to relax some, even got to take a couple of naps. And so all is well on the Eastern Front. Hope y'all can stay the same on your various fronts, northern, midwestern, whatever you call it, where John lives, and Peter. So, how are you guys doing tonight?
Well, it was a wild weekend here, Rusty. We had high weather warnings and low humidity and extreme fire danger warnings all weekend.
Oh boy!
And we got hit with some lightning strikes that started some brush fires. One of them did about 32,000 acres. And
here we go again.
Yeah, burned one house down. It burned into a small town here to the northwest of me, but or northeast of me. I mean, but
is this just Utah weather? Is that what you expect at this time of the year? I know California gets brush fires and other Midwestern areas do.
Well, we kind of expect it when we get these dry conditions and we have these storms that most of them don't drop any rain on us. They just go by and create high winds. We had gusts up to 65.
And suck the moisture out of everything.
Yeah, and then all it takes is one little spark and away it goes.
Yeah.
Most of the fires, there's about 10 of them in our local area, and most of them got out real quickly, but that one big one raced up a canyon or through a pass actually. And then the wind changed, it turned, came back up over the side of a mountain, came back and threatened another town, took out some electric poles, about 7 or 8 electric poles, and darn near got to this other little town called Oak City. Took out the winds or the fire, I'm not sure which, took out our transponder for the TV channels, off the air TV. So we won't have a TV here off the air for 3 or 4 days, apparently. So it was that kind of a weekend for us.
It wasn't quite as eventful here. We had a couple of short thunderstorms, and that's about it. Enough to keep the ground a little bit wet, but my wife's still having to drag the garden hose around to keep the plants blooming and putting out fruit. We got some pretty good tomatoes going on, and her spice gardens, her herb garden's looking really nice. And so we got a lot of fresh herbs to cook with, and she likes taking advantage of that. I see Eddie Suter jumped in. I didn't see him pop in down there. How you doing tonight, Eddie? I don't see a picture yet, and his circle is gray. So we'll see if Eddie can jack up his bandwidth a little bit or something.
Rusty, are you growing beefsteak tomatoes there?
Not this year. No, they're too much trouble because they stay on the vine so long the animals eat them. So we usually go with the smaller ones. The aromas are good and flavorful for making sauces, and and we got a smaller baseball, if that big size, that we can slice for sandwiches, and we've got some cherry tomatoes, and that's about all we've got. And they're planted in, you know what, roadside recycling bins, the square ones you just throw. They're open face. You just throw it on the curb with your plastic and cardboard in it. And we've just got a couple of bins about that size that we're growing, two of each in those, and then some big, super big pots that we're growing them in. We used to plant them in the ground. The dogs eat them, the deers eat them, the squirrels eat them, everything eats them. And not that they don't eat these too, but we've kind of resorted to minimalistic tomato planting in our later gardening days.
Well, in the old days, there they used to take the old long rifle out and have squirrels too.
I didn't hear that. You tell me what you said again.
I said in the old days, we got an echo. In the old days, they used to take the old long rifle out and get them a mess of squirrels for squirrels too.
Okay, I don't think we want to eat city squirrels, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's like desert rabbits.
Are they not good to eat? Old jackrabbit?
Yeah, it depends on a lot of them. They're usually got pretty infested with some things,
Mites and bugs and stuff.
Yeah, worms internal and all that.
Yeah, our squirrels, you can look at them and see. In fact, I've thought they were wounded from where I had shot them with my .22 air rifle, because they would have spots on the side, and I realized that's not a pellet wound, that's ringworm. And it's right where the target area would be too, right in the shoulder is where I see them with that ringworm, and so that I naturally thought that right off, but turns out they're just nasty. No, we don't eat them. I have eaten a city squirrel, but it was back when the city wasn't the city back then. We lived in a lake neighborhood, lake shore of the Lake Catherine area, and there was a lot of wildlife around, and it was edible back then. You even had to watch out for getting bit by a snake, but it's all developed now, and it's not fit for hunting and fishing anymore. We used to eat a lot of fish out of Lake Catherine, but turned out Fort Jackson was dumping raw sewage into it at one time. They quit when we found out about it. Yeah. They quit doing it, but yeah, we quit eating the fish out of it too.
Yeah.
Now we got Eddie. I saw you, Eddie. You got audio? I didn't hear you, but I did see you.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Can, yeah. Got you. Loud and clear.
Well, I had to go to Firefox because Chrome ain't working for me. I don't know why.
Me either. I'm on Firefox now too.
Me too.
Well, hey, I was with me and Gerald was on with Sparky last night on his
Q&A.
Q&A, and he got me fixed up where I can chat now. Somehow I got put on the hidden list.
Oh, I thought it might be something like that, but I had no way of knowing. I had mentioned it to him. Never did know if he got any results or not. Well, good. I'm glad you're a paying member, for Pete's sake. You
I'd like to talk to him.
Yeah, especially the minute you paid, you quit being able to talk. That kind of sucked.
Yeah. But yeah, I finally
Well,
got on.
I'm glad y'all got that fixed up. That'd be John, not Jerry, right?
What's that?
It was Sparky and John.
No, Gerald.
Oh, Gerald.
Australia or New Zealand or wherever.
Okay.
So we're all good now.
I'm still trying to cool my heels from rushing around trying to get to the computer. I was in a screaming huff when I finally sat down and turned it on. Bob Bishop says video is freezing.
Yep.
Yeah, you're froze up, Rusty.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, my head's not moving. Okay, I'll fix it in a second. It was doing that all night the other night, and I'll have to remember to check it more often. If I turn it off and back on, it'll fix it. I gotta turn it off for a second. You turn it off for about 10 seconds. It'll usually come back. Just a quick click doesn't fix it. So I'll pop it back on now and see if we got a. Oh, I know what else too. I bet my preview screen's running in the background. No, I'm still frozen. Let me go turn that preview off because I know that eats up unnecessary bandwidth.
Hey, John, quick question for you.
Yeah.
The plane you showed, I guess it was last week sometime, the one you said you sprayed with automotive paint.
No, I actually sprayed it with Rust-Oleum water-based enamel.
Oh, okay. Did you clear coat it or dope it?
I doped it.
Okay. I didn't
I
know.
didn't want to play with any death paint.
Well, the dope will pretty much cover anything, won't it?
Well, it covered that real well. There are things that you can't use it on, that, but you find out almost immediately that you can't use it because it does wrinkles up or gets soft or does all kinds of weird
Blister
things.
up on you.
Yeah. But I was really pleased with that water-based enamel. That you cut it down. That yellow usually is difficult to cover with, even with a good base coat down. And if you remember the plane, it was just solid yellow with good coverage. There wasn't anything bleeding through from underneath. So I'm going to try it again on the next one I paint, because
the one I saw you had like gold and maroon, and it was one of the older planes.
Actually, I got green on it, and I got kind of a maroon and black and yellow on that airplane. And that plane is about 10 years old. So if it's the one you're thinking of, because the one I showed a week or two ago, there was actually 2 airplanes in it and part of a third one. And the one was an All-American Eagle, done up in the paint scheme for the Blue Angels, and the other one was the yellow, maroon, green, and black.
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, now that's probably.
it's a good airplane. I really like it.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out paint schemes and everything to keep from having to buy so much, dope and all that. So I don't know.
Yeah, dope's expensive, and I think I paid like $8 or $9 for a pint can of that yellow, and I had half of it left over when I was done with more than half of it left over when I was done with the plane.
If you're going to paint yellow dope, you want to put a white undercoat down before you go yellow, don't you?
Either white or a light gray.
Uh-huh.
But it needs to be smooth. You can't have any dark patches or anything like that in it.
Yeah.
Yellow and red, they both have the same problem.
Do they? I didn't think red.
So that wasn't rattle can. It was just a regular pint can.
Yeah, it was I got it at Home Depot, I think.
Okay.
They've got a little half pint can that's about that tall.
Yeah.
You can go that one if you want, but they've got the bigger one. That's the biggest size unless you go to a gallon, and a gallon was way more than I wanted to buy. But what I liked about it was thinned with water. It cleaned up with water. You know, it's real easy to clean my spray equipment and everything else because clean water, I got lots more of that than I've got a clear or thinner, you know.
Right, because the paint doesn't have to be fuel proof. It's just a top coat.
Right, right. Well, and thing is though, Rust-Oleum enamel is fuel proof.
Oh, okay.
So the colors, the trim colors are on there with spray can automotive touch-up. What do they call it? Somebody mentioned named it.
Duplicolor.
Duplicolor. Yeah, that's
The
it.
Duplicolor, yeah, perfect match is what I use.
Yeah, and that sprayed on really nice. It went right onto the enamel, no problem, and it covered with dope. Got a little bit of color shift in the Duplicolor when I put the clear on it, but not so much that it really bothered me.
Cool.
Yeah, and it was a lot less expensive than using dope. I'll tell you that for sure.
I think I was happier with the Duplicolor than I have been with anything when I painted the Twister. That's what I first tried it, and that was great stuff, and it dries just as fast as the dope does, almost, if
Oh
not
yeah,
as fast.
yeah,
I
it
don't know.
dries real fast.
I don't
And
know about you guys, but there's not a hobby shop around me. It's a little over an hour away. So for me to go down there to buy dope and stuff like that, or I have to order it online to get it shipped. If I could just go down here to AutoZone and get me some paint, I'd rather do that.
well, yeah,
As
yeah.
far as I know, we don't even have a hobby shop that sells real dope around here.
I live 150 miles from Salt Lake City. That's the closest place where I can get model supplies. Uh,
Wow.
but you know, yeah, I go into the auto shop and get the Duplicolor, and I get the Rust-Oleum. And, you know, you got to make sure you get the water base because the other it takes mineral spirits or something or other like that to thin it and clean it, and it's heavy. It's heavier than
Now, the acrylic lacquer is the Duplicolor that I get, and it plays well with the butyrate thinner, and so you can clean up and
yeah.
use butyrate for clear coat too.
The remember that Torino that I showed
I
the twin
do.
motor? That was all done with Duplicolor,
Mm.
overdope, and it was covered with polish band, cleared. I think I had 4 coats of clear on it. I sanded after the third, and then I sanded after the fourth. Then I put a blocking coat on it, and just lightly sanded it just to make sure it was, you know, even. It didn't have any, not fuzzies, but bumps or
Mm.
whatever from dust.
Yeah.
And I used Duplicolor on it for the whole plane. Covered that with clear. It worked out beautiful. So yeah, I recommend it if you, especially if you can't get to a hobby shop. The hard thing is that you need to cover it with clear dope. If you want to, you can use 2-part polyurethane, but you know you have to be careful. You have to spray that outside.
I'm gonna order some of the Randolph, I guess, dope. I can get a gallon of that thinner and dope for uh, if I bought that's for like $110 for both of them. And if you get it from Brodak, there his you can only get it in the quart size.
Yep.
He's $25 a quart, so that's $100 just for the dope. Then I got to buy thinner. So
Yep.
I
Well,
figured Randolph would be better. Uh, I can get more for the money.
Randolph's a good choice. And you know, it comes in colors, comes in clear. Uh, I just look at it like I don't need a whole lot of color if I'm going to use like the water based Rust-Oleum or something like that or Duplicolor. What I need is the clear. But the thing you do want to consider is you're paying good money for that butyrate thinner. Use hardware store thinner, the cheap stuff to clean your equipment. It'll clean your equipment. It's
Oh
pretty
yeah, I'm
hard.
not gonna use the good stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Jeff Riley out on YouTube says Rust-Oleum thins well with acetone or lacquer thinner if it's not the water-based cans. I'm not sure what you're talking. Everything I've bought with Rust-Oleum is acrylic enamel, not acrylic lacquer, but acrylic enamel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found out acetone will pretty much thin anything.
So will MEK. But you got to be careful with MEK.
That stuff's nasty. Yeah.
When I was in the Navy, I was an optical man, and we used acetone to clean the lenses on everything, on all the navigational equipment. And in school and down at Corey Station in Pensacola, we have a cleaner that would strip anything. It's called Turco. And first thing they said was, don't clean your safety glasses with it. So what one guy do? I mean, instantly just melted them.
Yeah.
It was called Turkey something.
Turquoise.
That were like, I don't know, quarter.
Your audio dropped out, but
yeah, audio's breaking up now.
Tear it down.
Got the banjo thing going.
Okay. But those Turco would take those gloves and just. That's how crazy that stuff was.
Okay.
But yeah, that acetone, man, that's some nasty stuff.
I love it. It's my favorite all-purpose cleaner when I spill something that needs to come off the glass or to clean up some CA or spilled anything, or to clean up hinges. If I put Vaseline on the hinge pins and want to clean the tabs, then I'll use acetone for cleaning them up, spick and span.
I'll say it again, MEK you got to be careful with.
It's bad for your liver. I know that fumes are harmful with
Well,
MEK.
you get it on your hands and go right through your skin into your body.
Yeah.
Much of it.
That's what was in that old early dope. They said it was hot fuel proof, safe, and it was in the jars, the little jars. But now I forget what it was called. God, everybody sold it. Everybody used it back then.
Testers.
Aerodope.
Aerogloss.
Aerodope.
Aerogloss.
Aerogloss. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the base solvent in Aerogloss.
I never had much luck with Aerogloss. I stuck mostly with Testers dopes.
People that love it, and people that don't. Bob Zambelli still uses it when he can find it.
Yeah, a lot of people do. They loved it.
I didn't know they still made it.
They don't.
I don't think they do. I think people are finding old stock that's been sitting around for some time now.
Yeah. Hey, Denny, you guys get your model aviation?
One came today.
Did it? You look through it?
Not real well.
I looked through mine. I was impressed. Actually, it's one of the better issues I've seen in a long time. They covered a lot of things. I don't think there was one picture of a quadcopter in there at all. In fact, there was an article, welcome back, this issue's all airplanes with wings. Something like that.
I didn't get mine today. I'll keep an eye out for it tomorrow.
Yeah, they had one article in there. I just didn't get to read it, but it was on doing laser cutting and showing you how they set it up. And if you got the money, you can buy a small laser cutter. It'll give you all the directions for doing it. Explains it pretty well. There was a couple on free flight. There was one on the control line section. The article was on take apart wings, like Dave Fitzgerald uses, the system he uses, and where it lets you know where the parts were gotten or where the take apart system came from. Things like that. It was actually a pretty darn good issue compared to
Yeah.
what we've been getting in the past.
I can't have that little gold line.
So I finished up my busted busters.
You busted busters unbusted.
Yeah. That's tower coat on the wing.
Tower code.
It seemed a lot like monocoat.
Was it a little lower heat?
I think it's made out of the same stuff,
Yeah.
either a little bit thinner maybe, but basically the same stuff.
So I had posted this picture on the Control Line Facebook group, and they were saying that I need to support this wire in the middle.
Yep.
The control rod, that they're no.
Yeah, we were talking about that, weren't we? I'm still a big proponent of the 5/16 or even 1/4 inch carbon fiber. You don't have to support that.
Yeah, that's true. But he's at the point where it'd be difficult to do that.
Yeah. I don't know. Somebody said you could use a cotter key.
That was me.
Oh,
Yeah, somebody here did. That's right.
You got to slip it on. I don't know how you got your connection on the back, but you got to be able to slip that cotter key. You cut it off you figure the length you need. You cut it off so you got about a 1/4 inch stick or more, maybe 1/4 inch to 5/16 of an inch to push to get inside the fuselage.
Mm-hmm.
You slip it on and you drill a hole where you want it to go, smaller, and then you slide it in with epoxy it in place, and that will support it.
Okay.
I've done a lot of them that way before I found out about carbon fiber.
Yeah, I have to. In fact, some of the model kits, as I recall, would recommend a cotter pin.
That, or you could take a safety pin and cut the safety closure part off.
Yeah, that's too thin. I never did like the safety pin idea, but yeah, they did.
Yeah,
if you can get it close enough to the fuselage to where the rod still sits comfortably in it, then a safety pin will hold it. But other than that, it's so easy to wobble back out of there. I never did for it.
What Jerry? Oh, come on. From Michigan. Anyway, what he was talking about was that shows on a lot of Brodak kits. John Brodak's favorite method, and there he had a bolt, and he actually bolted through the fuselage, and where the slot was it was actually a machine screw. Where the slot was, he would solder a washer, a small washer, and he'd slide that on, push the bolt so you have a nut on each side, and you can put a washer on each, and
that works.
Screw it in, and it works very well.
Steve Hines, you're trying to think of. Steve Hines.
Steve, that's it. Yeah. It's hell to get old.
Okay.
Steve's name.
Saturday was really calm, so I did fly free flight. I've got a farmer friend like 40 miles away. I can fly there, and I've got I don't know if you're familiar with the satellites, pretty popular, free flight.
Yeah.
It was doing what they call the phugoid thing, or it's kind of up and down, but not.
Yeah.
And
the phugoid wave.
Yeah. And so I was trying to trim that out, and this guy I know from Free Flight, Dan Barry, he said that there's too much washing, and I need to put in a little bit of tilt in the wing. But anyhow, I was telling him I was surprised that how much effort goes into trimming out control line, because he flies control lines too. And he says it's harder to trim control line planes properly than free flight.
Yeah, I
Kind
agree
of
with that.
shocked me
It
because
is surprising. You know, I always say when we go out to the RC field where they're primarily RC or something and they're not familiar with control line, they're just fascinated with what we do with them and what we can make the planes do. And it always amazes them is how much there actually is to make a control line plane work right.
Yeah, and Bill, you're right. The thing is, the trimming gets more difficult if you decide to go the competition route.
Mhm.
That's right. Yeah.
Because
For
you're
sport flying, you just throw it in the air and fly. But
and if it's a little bit messed up, you bring it down and you fix just that little thing. As long as you can get it to fly level and you do a couple of loops, maybe fly upside down, most people are sport flyers are happy with that. Some go on
yeah,
to fly the whole pattern, you know, but they're not looking for competition or scores or anything like that. So the plane waves its wing at you in certain places, you know, they don't worry about it too much. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you know, that's just a different portion of the hobby.
So then, like with free flight, you know, the trim adjustments, if you change one thing, it usually means you got to change something else too. You know, is that kind of with the control line?
same thing.
Same thing.
This weekend, I worked on the Navigator and put spacers on the top engine screws to tip the engine down a little bit.
How'd that work out?
I haven't flown it yet, but I think it'll help quite a bit, but we'll see.
Wonder how Kim Stricker's doing because you got him thinking about the Navigator and he got his down and started fixing it up, didn't he?
Yeah,
And,
I haven't seen anything about the Navigator. I know he's flown some other planes and posted them on YouTube. So I know he's flying, but I haven't seen him fly the Navigator yet.
So I flew my float plane last Thursday evening, I believe, and it was really calm. So it was kind of a struggle getting off the water, but I did. But you know, I noticed after I flew, picking the batteries up, you know, boy, they're pretty warm now. You know, when it's like 80 degrees compared to, you know, when I was flying it when it was like 65 or something like that or 70.
yeah.
So have you got good cooling air going on it or on the battery?
Tough to do on a seaplane. You get water in there.
I know. That's why I was asking the question, you know?
Yeah. It's just the way it came. And, you know, it's probably, you know, not terribly hot, but it definitely gets warmer when it's warmer out.
Well, if you see plastic dripping out the bottom as it flies by.
That's a dead giveaway.
I love flying seaplanes. Don't get me wrong. I really do. One of the things, I used to fly up in Alaska with a friend of mine had a full-scale Cessna 172 on floats. And we'd go out and we'd land on a lake and it was real calm. There wasn't any wind motion or wind waves on the lake. So it was just glass smooth. And we'd take off and we'd make big circles and come back and forth trying to get some waves moving so that we could get rid of some of that glue that was holding us down to the water. And then we'd get going. He'd roll one elevator, lift one float out of the water, and then lift the other elevator wing, and then he'd lift the other wing, and off we'd go.
My dad told the story of when he lived up in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. There's a lot of lakes there, and there was somebody with a seaplane. They were having trouble getting off, and they hired him with his boat to make some waves so they could get off.
Yep.
The other
Has
thing,
everybody got their
Bill, is-
cameras turned off or what?
No, but if you're seeing a lot of blackouts, then it's your bandwidth. Your system's automatically shutting them off to conserve bandwidth.
Okay.
the other thing
I
was
get
gonna
that
say,
too.
Bill, is that if you lower the front of the floats a little bit, that helps because it gives your wing a little higher angle of attack. So
Yeah, that
that
would
can
do that.
help get it off the water also.
That's why a lot of float planes you see as they fly by, you know, the float they might be flying level this way, but the floats are like that. Anyone ever build the top flight kit called the Elder 40 or the Elder 20?
Don't know that one.
It looked like an Eindecker style, more single wing, had a built up, worn truss construction on the fuselage, and it was just cute as all get out. And it was designed one of the early RC planes designed for four-stroke engines. And I built the 20 size, and I had the HP 20 four-stroke, which is a rotary valve four-stroke, and they had a float kit for it, and it looked like little Dutch shoes down there. And on the tail, it had one back there as well. And you had hooked to they had a rudder on it that was on the tail one that was hooked to the airplane's rudder, so you could turn and maneuver it. But when you got up to speed and that tail come up, you had to use the aero rudder. But it was really something. Those big old Dutch shoes out there in front. The thing was a really good little float plane. It was only 3 channels, so.
Okay, so I watched that video that Shug made about control line, just kind of explain it. And he had a separate handle for each airplane.
Yeah.
Is that because he's made adjustments on the handle and he wants to keep them with the plane?
Yeah. If I jump in here, let me say this. Yes, that's absolutely right. In fact, every airplane I have, I fly competition, all right? So, or I flew competition. Every airplane I have has its own set of lines and its own handle. The handle stays hooked up to those lines from the time I build it and put it in there, because all the trim and adjustments, I don't want to have to do all the handle trim and adjustments and change check the line lengths and everything every time I switch from one plane to the other. So if I take 2 planes, I've got a backup plane. Something happens to my first plane, I can go over, hook the lines up that go to the second plane, and it's trimmed. It's ready for me to go. I don't have to take off and try to finish my second flight or do my second flight with an airplane that I don't really have the handle trimmed out perhaps the way I like it.
I'm the same way. Yeah, I got its name and the length written on the spool for every plane.
Yep. I do it. I paint the handle to match the airplane.
Oh,
that's neat.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, I go broke buying handles in line. I got too many damn planes.
Well, you don't buy them all at once, you know.
Yeah.
I used to make my own handles, and then they were the cable adjustment type, and I got them working pretty good. They were nice and light, and they worked. But then I got enamored with going with the solid point, the Fancher style handle, which doesn't have the adjustable cable. It's everything's adjusted on, with how. Anyway, not much adjustment for lengthwise or mismatched lengths. But so then I did that. I had to start slowly buying these Fancher handles, and they're a kit, $25 a kit, is what it cost. And I probably got 15 of those things now. Hey, Charles, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? Hey, guys. How's it going?
Oh, hey, Charles. Good evening.
Good evening.
so Charles, do you have a separate handle for each plane?
Yeah, separate handle and separate lines. I even have a reel winder. I make a winder out of PVC pipe and a little cap. And I put that through the reel, and I use that to wind up the line.
Yeah, I got one of those too.
Yeah, so every plane has a bag that has the name of the plane on the bag and the line and reels, handle, and like I said, the winder. So it keeps it simple. That way you can just go out there and roll your lines out, and your neutral is still the same neutral.
Yeah, I'd have a tough time if I had to adjust separately every time I swap planes if I didn't have its own handle for it.
Well, when I was a kid, you know, in the
Yeah,
when I was a kid in the mid to late 50s, you know, it took me a month's work on my paper route just to buy the fuel and the battery and things like that. So I had one handle and one set of lines, and every time I swapped from one, and I didn't realize how important it was to make the lead outs and the lines match for each airplane, so that they, you know, so I'd have to get out there. It was an easy adjust. That's why they made them. I'd have to try to adjust the handle and get everything set up so that it was neutral. And heck, I could put a full flight up the amount of time I was adjusting it. Plus, I had to have help to do it. I had to have somebody pull the airplane up and then check to make sure that when I thought I was neutral, that kind of thing. It's much nicer to have now that I can afford to have extra lines.
I know. Well, I also only had, I think I had one handle when I was a kid and two reels. And that's it. I would adjust every plane that I flew before I flew it. And if I switched planes, I had to do it again. But you know what? I didn't think anything of it. I mean, it wasn't until I was exposed to some expert pilots, I saw they would go out there and fly, and they never adjusted their handle, never adjusted neutral. And I saw that they had a bag for each plane, so I said, okay, that's how you do it. So
makes it a lot easier, doesn't it, Charles?
it does, but you know what? It's kind of expensive, and I mean, I have a lot of planes. You know, I'm yeah, so it's just a lot of lines I got to make up.
And $25 handle kits.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's kind of expensive. So typically on the planes I don't fly very often, I'll use a cheaper handle, a wired handle. You know, it's still adjustable, but it's a wired handle. And then the ones I use on a more frequent basis will have the more expensive high-end handles.
Yeah. You buy your lines by the 500-foot roll or 1,000-foot roll, don't you?
1,000-foot roll, yeah.
Yeah.
Right now I probably have about at least 2,000 feet, maybe 4,000 feet in lines material. Yeah, so I have lots of lines.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit behind. I have a drawer full of lines that I found a broken strand. I have lots of lines that what I do is I put some tape around it and write on it, "Do not use," and I put it in a drawer with the intention of, you know, cutting off the ends and make it a shorter set of lines. But you know, when am I going to have time for that? So.
Yeah. Well, right at the time when you really need it, you don't have a lot of time is when you'll have to do it.
You guys know the modern radio controls, you can program 60 different planes in one radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
60. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you know they won't let me use that.
Why not?
You know, if I went out there with a radio box like that and said, "Okay, guys, let her go."
Mine is over 200.
You know, I bet you if they'd allow it, it wouldn't be very long that somebody come up with a programmable radio that you could program the entire schedule in it.
Oh, we got a lot of extra noise.
Let's see. We got some. Let me look through the YouTube comments out here. I've been kind of neglecting those guys. But let's see. Jeff Riley's out there. Got some comments. Brent Williams. Let's see. Phil Bailey said that's what we all should do. No question. Each one says. I don't know. Jeff Riley says Jeff Riley wants to know if the Fancher is anything like the old Bill noise handle. Phil Bailey says a Fancher is a hard point. Yeah, the noise that he has is cables. Put that picture back up, whoever that was.
That was Peter. Those are some beautiful handles.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look at it. I was busy reading YouTube.
I don't know who. Does somebody in Japan make them? Can't nail down who does.
You know, they're beautiful, Peter, but there's one flaw for the way, at least for the way I fly, and that's that pistol grip setup. There
we go.
I had.
That's the bias handles. Yeah.
I had to train myself to fly with my hand straight up and down. It gives me better control and it allows me to finesse the airplane more. There are people that'll argue about it, and that's fine.
Yeah, they'll go on and on about it. But yeah, I prefer the straight up and down handle and just make it each handle so that it fits my wrist, and it may or may not end up with some bias in it. But those are pretty.
Those are pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
It looks like there's a nut on the top. Don't you just loosen that nut way out enough to get it straight up and down?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's an adjustment of some sort.
I don't know if there's enough adjustment there to take care of that relaxed grip, they call it. And you notice the one on the far right, it actually is tilted. The bar is tilted back a little compared to the one in front of it.
Yeah.
And you know that's adjusted for slight problems with line length. But you notice the length of the screw sticking out the back. You've only got about a quarter inch you can tilt that, and I don't think that's enough.
I see a lot of nuts on handles before, but that's the first ones that are adjustable.
Yeah, well, these were made a lot. These are modern made. These are from Japan.
Yeah, somebody in Japan is making them.
That was a joke, John.
Oh, I'm sorry. Went right over my head, Steve.
Speaking of lead outs,
So Peter,
do y'all prefer solid wire or stranded?
What, for the handle wire?
No, for the airplane lead outs.
I'm laughing.
I prefer stranded lead out, so 27s for the 35, 45, 50 size.
I agree with
27s.
Rusty. I agree with Rusty. I've used solids at times, and all you have to do is bend them once, and then you'll always have a little stutter in your controls. It's almost impossible to get them straight to where they pass through the lead outs without a little snag there, you know. And
I call it a doink, a little doink.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a twister that I borrowed for the 2017 Triple Tree contest, and it used to get it had diamond shaped bends at the ends to put the clips in, and they used to get all stuck together, and I'd have to yank the plane to get it loose in the middle of a vertical eight or something like that. So.
Yeah, and they rattle when you fly sometimes.
Yeah.
They do, yeah.
So, given the choice, I'll take the braided lead outs.
Yeah, I'm replacing them in that SV11 because they tucked them in and somehow bent the braided lead outs. I couldn't get the bend out of that, so I cut them out last night.
Yeah, once they get boogered up, there's no unboogering them either.
Unboogering. That's a new word.
The booger man.
Another rustyism.
Hey, Rusty, you're kind of clipping a little bit. Your microphone. Can you maybe turn your volume down a little bit? You.
Oh, what's happening? My mic's too loud.
Yeah, just a
Okay.
little bit.
Oh, let me try turning it down a little.
It is right there.
Yeah, I was watching on YouTube, and there's a huge echo on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah. So when I got on here, I was going to say, hey, it wasn't me this time getting on that screwed shit up. But once I got on, it's fine.
Yeah, you're
2598099.
You know, but speaking about the bias handles, I'm actually curious about the bias handles because, most of my planes, when I fly them, they do turn quicker on outsides, and I'm wondering if it's if I had a bias handle, if that would alleviate that.
I wouldn't go that way, Charles. I keep the handle straight up and down, vertical. What I would do is adjust my elevator. Keep your flaps neutral, but adjust your elevator. Take a little bit of that, give it a little bit of up elevator. If the elevator's hanging down, bring it up a little bit. Adjust it there, and because what you want is if you bias it, you're gonna have problems with it with equal turns on your hard turns.
My microphone was all the way up. Does it sound any better now?
It sounds good. Your voice quality is much nicer.
Okay.
More pleasant sounding.
Oh yeah, my pleasant voice. Okay, I'll leave it there.
But now your picture's froze.
Oh, I can't help that. I'll see if I can unfrizz it. Yep, sure enough. If it ain't one thing, it's another.
Yeah.
I'll turn it off for a minute.
Do you live in Charleston or by Charleston?
Who, me?
Yeah.
100 miles. I live 100 miles northwest of Charleston.
Oh, okay.
Well, he's far enough north, he's almost a Yankee.
Yeah, they talk funny down there. Okay, now my pictures. I still frozen. Dadgummit.
I just found out today that my aunt, by marriage, her sister, they moved up there to Charleston. And they were back down this week to visit or something, but they moved up there.
Tom, you're doing the banjo thing.
Where did they move up to Charleston from? Somewhere like Savannah?
No, from by Gainesville, Florida.
Oh, that's even farther up. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Right. Something about his job. I don't know, but he ended up moving up there. So it must be some bigger corporation or something, and they moved him up. But I guess they like it up there. So.
Yeah, Charleston's a nice place to be. And it's got good food, too. It just smells like a paper plant. That's the only thing.
Sauerkraut.
And you know what a paper plant smells like, don't you?
Yeah, right. I don't know what it smells like. Paper plant smells like. I assume it smells bad, I assume.
Well, they got a lot of paper plants there in Charleston.
Got a couple of them, 2 or 3 now, but I think it used to be more. And paper plants can stink. The reason is because it's a port city, and they put a lot of plants that ship international loads near the ports, and so Charleston ships paper. So does Georgetown. You know, a lot of the port cities, you'll have paper mills. Is my voice and my picture both working together in unison now?
Yeah, your lips are
Your
moving.
hands are moving.
La
Anytime
la
you
la
talk.
la la la.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
do a song and dance now. Okay.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
time as you move your lips, your voice comes out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder about, we used to have so many paper plants here. I mean, Mead was headquarters in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Mead had all kinds of paper plants around, but the last one I know of around here shut down 2 years ago. And it's like, where are they making all the paper now?
They used to make a lot of it in Maine. Crown Zellebrock was one of the main plants. And there's Mead, there's Union Camp, there's International. There's lots of paper companies.
Here in the Pacific Northwest, south of Seattle, is a town called Tacoma.
Yeah,
And
familiar with that.
well, Tacoma used to drive by. They had paper mills there too, and we had what was called the Tacoma aroma, which is, of course, smells like sauerkraut because that's what.
They'll tell you it smells like money.
Well, yeah, I know. Same thing about what they call it for finishing yards for cattle. Yeah, and hog farms. That smells like money too.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife's uncle's a pig farmer. I can smell the money to him.
Worst smell I ever had was we went out to Arkansas to the to Eureka Springs, but we had to go through all the cabbage farms and all those rotten heads of cabbage out there. My gosh, you talking about stinking.
They got a town in California called Gilroy, and Gilroy is the garlic capital of the world. They grow more garlic there than just about anywhere else in the world. And you get within 5 miles of the outskirts of Gilroy, you can smell it.
Wow.
They have a festival there in Gilroy. We used to hold the California the Golden State Championship there was held in Gilroy for several years.
Yeah.
We used to go up there and they had the Gilroy Garlic Festival, and you could buy garlic beer, garlic cheese, just about garlic perfume, and garlic ice cream.
Garlic perfume. Boy, I bet
Well,
that was some good stuff.
Yeah.
They didn't have a problem with vampires, did they?
Nope, never had any problem with them. I think they had a schoolyard shooting though here about 7 or 8 years ago, where somebody got in and killed 2 kids or whatever. So the shooters must not have been vampires.
No.
Bill,
Yeah.
is this the kind of camera you have, a Mobius?
No, I should have.
Okay.
I bought one of those key fob things, and it's really poor quality. Well, for my videos, though, I got a GoPro, and I got it on my head.
Okay.
But the Mobius, I think that's the one people use on airplanes.
Yeah, I think I'll try mounting this one on the Navigator for my next flight.
Yeah, Kim Stricker likes to put those on his airplanes and get in-flight video. He gets some pretty spectacular video too. He's a
Yeah, he has
marvelous photojournalist.
those latest ones are on that QT airplane, and he's got several different motors that he's flown on that. And he has the camera mounted on an arm out in front of the wing, pointing at the motor, so you can see the motor run through the whole flight. Yeah, those are pretty good videos.
Does it look like the prop's going backwards?
I don't know. I never noticed.
You haven't seen the videos?
Well, I've seen the videos, but I didn't notice which direction the prop was turning.
Well, the new electronic type of imaging system gives it odd artifacts in the picture of the spinning propeller. In the old days, they used to look like they're going backward and forward and standing still, but nowadays they've got some really curvy looking odd renditions of the propeller spinning.
Yep.
You seen the video of that guy flying his real plane, and the prop flies off of it?
No.
And you can see it on the camera, shows it, because you can, how you see the prop, it's like either sitting still or going backwards because of the frame rate.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the prop just disappears, and the pilot doesn't know it because he couldn't see the prop spinning anyway. And it took him a few minutes to realize, hey, I ain't going as fast as I was. So he had to dead stick it. He had to dead stick it in for a landing, but yeah, I couldn't imagine that.
I bet you wish he had a pusher.
Yeah.
No. If you got a pusher, that probably go right through the cabin.
I have a question, you guys.
Or through the tail.
So I finally have a charger now for the battery that Steve sent me.
Yeah.
And but it doesn't have a power supply. So I'm wondering, could I use like my car charger, my car charger for my car batteries? Could I use that?
Just hook it to your car battery.
Yeah.
What kind of battery are you talking about, Steve?
That LiPo I sent him.
Oh.
Charles,
I wouldn't want to give advice on that.
If you're going to hook it to the battery, you want to do it in your shop. You want to charge your batteries in your shop, and you got to use a battery or car charger. Put a battery in line that acts as a capacitor, and it just evens out your charge. That way, you're running it. You don't get any of the hash or off of the charger itself, because those aren't filtered very well, and you don't know. I just wouldn't trust it without that battery in there to safeguard.
So charge the battery and then connect this to the battery that's being charged by the car charger.
Right.
This is all to go flying. This is a lot of work.
Charles, hook it up to the battery on your car.
Yeah.
Clip it on, plug it in, and charge it.
There you
go.
go.
How long does it take?
Charge that one up probably half an hour.
Okay.
I would think. It depends on how far it's down. But if you're just going to use it in a starter, you only have to charge it once or twice a year.
Okay. So just hook this up and then connect these leads to my car for half an hour. And the car doesn't have to be running, right?
Nope.
No. It'll automatically turn off when it's charged.
This here will turn off
automatically.
automatically.
Yeah, the batteries have internally built-in circuits for the lithium batteries that monitor the voltage and current flow.
So this charger will charge LiPo, NiCad, and lead acid. Lead acid. And yeah. All right, so I'll do that.
Yeah, you're just going to have to go in there and pick LiPo. And it'll probably ask you how many cells, and that's a 4-cell I sent you.
Right, 4-cell.
You put that in, and then it's going to want the C rating or the amps. So what is that, a 26.5 or 2.65?
Well, it says 2.6, and then it says 2650 milliamp.
I charge it at 2.6 amps then. You could double it if you want it, but depends on how fast you want to charge the battery. I mean, I do it slow and usually
harder on the battery to charge it faster.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want any heat buildup. at all.
So 1C is always a good thing to do. And I mean, like right now, when you're sitting there, you can hook it up on your car battery and do whatever you wanted to do, and it'll shut off when it's charged. And they usually beep.
Okay, good. I just need to get another, call this an XT60. I need to cut the cord on my starter and to connect it to this. But
Yeah, match it up to whatever one's on your starter. You can do either or. But it's probably
the starter does not have anything right now except for those banana plugs. So either way, I mean, I'll just probably go to the hobby store tomorrow and get another. Oh wow, yeah, that looks good.
And then we did two little pieces of plywood, and there's like screw holes there, and you just run a zip tie down through it.
Nice.
Zip ties them two, and then one in the middle, and it's good to go. I mean,
I might go that way after I break this. Here, I have what do I do with it? Yeah, I have the OG, the original. I don't know if you can see those. By Dave Brown.
Oh, gee.
I don't know how long these are going to last, but that's the one, either top or bottom.
Will that battery fit in there?
I hadn't even tried it. I might have to remove some material, but it's kind of a tight fit, but I might be able to. The screws might connect. Yeah, I think that'll work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it'll work.
Yep. Yeah, we just did it with the plywood because everybody has plywood if they fly model airplanes.
Yeah. Well, who knows how long these will last? So I might, if I break these up, if they get broken, then I might revert to that method.
And then this one, I love Royal starters, but they have a weird little thing on them that holds them up off the ground. So what we did is got a piece of L channel and bolted it to the front, and then just put the piece of plywood on there, and it works. It works the same way.
That's what I had. My battery was zip tied to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And that was a lead acid battery, made a big heavy combination. Here's the one you sent me here, Steve.
Yeah. Yeah. So you'll be able to do the same thing and just pinch it in. But yeah, if people want a starter, you can buy Royals for like $10 on eBay. Everybody hates them because of that little teeny standoff.
Yeah.
Like I said, we just got a piece of L channel, cut it to the right length, and put it on there. And these things last forever.
So what do I do with all this stuff now? I've got the two big wires, positive and negative.
That's gonna hook to the starter.
Okay. And then I've got the control wires, but I don't use them for anything, do I?
You can balance charge the battery with the charger. It gets every cell the same exact.
If I've just got a 12 volt, oh, wait a minute. Okay.
But
I wrote down what kind of charger you said to get. So
yeah, they have the right charger. Don't use a 12 volt, just a regular 12 volt charger.
I can check here real quick, but they had them back in stock at Hobby King for $10.
Yeah, we talked about it one night. I think I got it in my notes. Let me check. In fact, I got my notepad open right now.
I mean, if you're not going to charge to fly, then a $10 charger, any charger that'll charge a LiPo is great for a starter battery because they last so long. I mean,
Here we go. Hobby King XT60 LiPo battery charger.
Yeah. Yeah, they have them for like $10. But
Okay.
and they'll work on anything, but I mean, there's not a whole lot of amps to them, but like I said, it's not like the old days when you had to charge your batteries all the time on the starter. There's so much
Yeah.
capacity in them things that these haven't been charged since last year. So,
Wow.
I mean, it's just, they go for a long time. So it's not like you're going to be out there every day.
Right. Well, I'm
charging.
pretty sure of that. Yeah.
This is what I used to do. I had this set up, and I thought this was so cool.
Yeah, plug it into
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of a pain. Not very portable.
Well, I'll tell you what. If
You
you
look kind of like a Borg wearing it.
Real nice joinery and everything. I mean, it's a beautiful piece of
yeah,
it's a beautiful box.
well, I'll tell you what, Charles. If that battery is still good in the box, you can charge that battery and then use that battery in that box to charge a LiPo.
Okay. All right.
Because that's 12 volt in there.
Yeah, it's a 12 volt. Yeah.
Yeah.
12
So
volt.
all you got to do is take your clips. You can charge that and then hook that charger to that battery and charge your LiPo.
What we used to do when I was a kid, Daddy took one of those was Sullivan starters, cut the ends off of it, and soldered a extension cord to it, and we had about a 15 or 20 feet of extension cord, and then he just hooked the banana clips or the jumper cable clips to the other end and hooked it to the car, and we'd stretch it out 15, 20 feet, however it was from the car, start it, and drag it back to the car or truck.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long table.
You guys aren't gonna believe what we used to do when I was first starting out in the hobby. We'd get an old used car battery and we'd cut a cell out. So we'd have, like a 6-volt battery, remember those, or a 12 volt. And we'd cut both the ends off and sacrifice out of 6 volt, cut both ends off, sacrifice the middle cell. So now we had a 2-volt cell. And I forget how we recharged them. I think we did them in series. But anyway, those would last us all season. We'd have this 2-volt battery, lead acid battery there, and we'd hook our we didn't have glow drivers. I think we hooked a wire and we had those snap things or a pair of alligator clips that we used to, and that's how we lit our glow plugs.
Damn, John, when you started, I had a little hand on them.
When I started flying them was when we put a string on a pterodactyl.
Yeah, I was watching some old thing, an airplane that had a Model T engine in it.
Oh, that would be a
Feed and pull.
Feed and pull.
Feed and pull, yeah.
And the guy
Kim's
cranking
Tricker's
the
got
damn
one of those.
thing. He was cranking the motor on that. I'm like, that's a brave son of a bitch to get in and fly that thing.
Kim's got one.
Yeah.
Hey, they're a
Sure
good
enough, he
flying
goes to
airplane.
fly-ins at Oshkosh for the Piet and Poles every year.
They're
I know the airplane's good, but I just don't know about a Model T engine.
That doesn't sound too healthy to me either.
They wound up. I thought they had a Model A engine in it.
Or Model A, I mean. Model A, Model T, whatever.
And I thought that wasn't the Model A they used had an electric starter on it. That was one of the first car engines that they put a starter on them.
Might be. That one with the crank on the front used to break people's arms. If you crank it with you always had to crank it with your left hand because something about the motion, if it kicked back and you were cranking with your right hand, it would break your elbow joint, I think, or your shoulder.
Yeah, what we used to go through to go on a date on Saturday night.
Where's this going?
Try to keep it clean, Rusty.
Yeah, okay.
Well, my grandma was saying that my grandpa lived about 20 some miles from her, and he couldn't afford gasoline, but they had kerosene, so he would take and start his car somehow on gasoline and then change it over to run on kerosene so he could come see her.
You can mix it with mothballs. You can substitute mothballs and kerosene for gasoline.
Oh shit.
You know, I bought an octane booster back when I was drag racing, and that stuff smelled like mothballs.
World War II,
Right
the French would burn wood. They had a burner in the back that put in the trunk of their car. They'd burn the wood and get the methane gas out and use it to run their car.
Sometimes they burn peat. I read a novel where a guy turned a motorcycle into a peat burning bike.
Yeah.
And he burned peat in it.
Yeah.
You're right back.
Past that
you see these cars driving around France during the occupation, and they'd have the smoke billowing out the back. Yeah.
Well, that's that buddy of mine, Pat, that we fly at his house. That's Dick's nephew there. He's building a one of them smoke generator things to run a generator off from. So if the power goes out or whatever, he can just burn wood and then run a generator.
Yeah, it'll work.
And then he's come up with another deal he's got there in his garage to do waste oil. Somehow it makes smoke out of the waste oil, and it burns the fumes in a different chamber or something. It goes through a heat exchanger, and you can blow air across it. And he's always building something to get off the grid.
Yeah, you got to be pretty ingenious to do some of this. John, you're right. That was Occupied Belgium. The novel I read was where the guy had converted his little motorcycle to burn peat, and he would leave a trail of smoke wherever he went. But the Germans laughed it off at first until they figured out this guy was smart enough to be a little dangerous.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of alternative things out there. I was reading something about somebody will right now sell you the plans to do this, and that is using a cooler to condense moisture out of the air. Claims that you can get at least 20 to 60 gallons of fresh water a day out of this thing. Without
it's called an air conditioner.
Yeah, an air conditioner will do it. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be surprised that about half of the money you spend on your air conditioner is just taking water out of the air.
Free water, yeah.
And if you seal up your house and don't open doors, you can cut the usage of your AC by half. Well, that's why windows that seal good and Tyvek on the outside of houses and stuff, that's why they do that, is to keep the moisture from... I forget, when I went to school, it was like 75 gallons of moisture in the carpeting on most people's homes. When it was
that's disgusting.
When it was at 70% relative humidity, you could have like 75 gallons of water in the carpeting.
Yeah, well, we in the drywall industry, we used to use vapor barriers.
Yeah.
Vapor barriers. We stopped doing it, because it was too efficient, and they started growing a lot of mold in there. So they stopped doing it, but it worked. It worked very well. If you could live with the moisture, the mold.
Yeah.
That mold might kill you.
It might.
Well, that was why vapor barriers used to be put on the inside of houses.
Yeah.
And they got so much mold that now they put like Tyvek on the outside to keep the moisture from getting into the cavities in the house. And then basically your air conditioning and your heating then sets your humidity and stuff, you know, inside the house. But yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with that kind of deal.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, I live in the desert, so for me, a high moisture day is when it gets over 25, 30%.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't grow mold there even if you try.
You know, that I wish that was true, but there are places in the house where you can grow it even at that.
Oh, no kidding.
No kidding.
Back of the refrigerator.
Basement.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, the basement's a lot cooler, and people don't realize how much moisture comes up through the ground through concrete.
You're right.
That's why they put that tar on concrete to keep that moisture from coming through.
Yeah, the tar. The problem with tarring, like you're talking about a foundation.
Yeah.
That tar has a problem in that as the ground heats and cools, it's moving. It's just like sandpaper on that tar, and it doesn't take very long. It's sanded it all off. If you've ever watched them go in a house that's 20 years old or so and dig down along the foundation, you'll find it. You'll see this color stain where the tar was, but the tar ain't there no more.
Oh,
What's best to use is a cementitious thing. It's kind of like it's a real hard stucco. It's a type of cement that they use for swimming pools to do the inside of swimming pools so they don't leak, because a standard concrete tub, swimming pool base will leak water through it like a sieve over time. But they'll use this. It's like a plaster they put on there, and they'll do that on the outside of the foundation, and that'll pretty well seal it and keep it sealed. It takes probably 100 years or more for it to get sanded off. Hey, Peter.
Yeah.
How's it coming on the Saginaw?
It's sitting there because I don't have a wing jig.
Oh. You can't.
So I've been separating parts and just weighing them, and the balsa parts, to get, the heavier ribs on the outboard side. I'm probably going to start on the fuselage. But I do, because that's basically the easiest part to do it. I don't need a jig to build a fuselage.
No, that's true.
I ordered me one of them kits today.
Cool.
But I did get in the mail my Thunder Tiger 36 Pro.
Oh, nice.
Which is going to go into that plane.
That looks new.
Yeah, it is. It really, quite literally, when I looked into the exhaust port, it doesn't look like this engine's been run at all.
Where'd you get that at?
Off to Randy and let him do his thing on it.
You got that off of eBay, Charles?
Yes.
Wow.
What'd you pay? $50 for that, Pete?
70.
70. Still a good buy.
You have Randy put his piston and liner in it, and you got a
Aero Tiger.
Aero Tiger.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what I found out is he does not have any more AAC piston and liners. Can't get them anymore.
Oh, no kidding.
So what did he do for you then?
Oh, he's probably good. He'll probably retime the existing ports.
He'll blueprint it first.
Yep. And make sure that he'll replace the bearings with sealed bearings and stuff like that. Just get it all set up as best that he can for a control line. But that's what's going into the Spirit of Saginaw. So I'm I'm going to order up a Brodak wing jig so I can start on the wing. And that'll probably start sometime. I don't know, depends on how soon I can get the wing jig from Brodak. Plus that missing piece from the kit.
What did they say to you when you told them about it?
I haven't gotten a reply back yet.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you what. I bought 2 of the Brodak wing jigs, and then made a spline thing to stick them together. Then you can build the whole wing at one time. Otherwise, you can only build half.
Half.
Okay.
Maybe I'll do that because it's easy enough. I'm supposed to find a piece of aluminum tubing to join the 2 rods together.
Well, you can just take a wooden dowel or something like that and sand it till you can stick both of them together.
Hmm.
And then I had to modify how it gives you 2 ends. So I got one in the middle. I modified so I can set that on there and then keep everything straight, and then build the whole thing.
I made my own wing jig 30 years ago. A rod jig like that. It's real simple. I used a 1x12, about 4 or 5 feet long, and I had a 2x4 on each end, and I had put a little piece up there so the front rod could go up against it to keep it aligned up. And then I had a lag bolt I put through it, had a wing nut on it, and a piece of wood on there to come down and clamp both rods when I got them in position. Clamped them down there. It worked like a treat. It's worked for all these years. Never had a problem. I think I built it for, out of the junk box.
Your arm getting tired, Charles?
No, it's not that heavy, but I don't know if I ever showed you guys this trainer that a friend of mine built for me. Can you guys see it?
Oh,
Yeah, we got it.
I thought that was your new PA ship.
I thought it was a stringer.
Hang on, let me find you so I can make your picture big.
All right.
Yeah, that's cool, Charles.
Yeah, so it's held together with rubber bands,
There we go.
and he has the bell crank underneath. So I have to take the flying line through this through the lead out guide on the end of this is a foam wing, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's really durable. I mean, actually, I had a guy fly it last Friday. He crashed 4 times, and I broke 3 APC props. But the plane's in great shape.
Cool. Hey, have you flown your new Stalker motor yet?
No, I haven't. I've been meaning to get around to it. It's just I'm just so busy. My wife, she actually Saturday, I had to call the ambulance and they took her, and she's okay now, but she was in severe pain and just I've been really busy taking care of my wife, keeping her comfortable, and I'm doing this and doing that and the other thing and maintaining cars like you.
That's understandable, Charles.
I got 3 teenagers as well, and I'm trying to help them. They want to go here and go there. So I'm pretty active. It keeps me young.
Yeah, I wanted to see what you thought of that new motor. When you have to let us know once you take it out and fly it for the first time.
Yeah, the Red Strega, which the other Stalker 81 was in, I'm having a problem with the motor mounts. I think I told you maybe a couple of months ago that one of the engine bearings is being crushed when I tighten up the blind nut. It's just kind of traveling through it. And I just need to cut out the top lock. And Dennis at Emission suggested that I just get a piece of brass, drill and tap that thread, and lay that on top, and it'll be wide enough, long enough that it won't crush the engine bearer. So I want to do that. So
try aluminum; it's lighter than brass.
Yeah, aluminum work too.
Yeah.
Okay, I might try that. Now the white Strega I have, actually, I was hoping to put the new Stalker in that, but that one has the K77 in, and the crankcase on the Stalker is bigger. I have to remove some wood to accommodate the Stalker. That's why I haven't ran it. But when it was on the test stand, that is a beautiful running motor. I cannot tell you how sweet that 81 is. A new one. I've never had a new one before. So sweet. I look forward to it. But yeah, I'll let you know when I run that motor. I'm sure I'll be talking about it.
All right.
You'll be so in love with it.
Gary.
You'll be so in love with it, you won't be able to stop talking about it.
I bet, because on the test stand, even everybody who was watching it, I was running it when I was flying, they go, "That is one nice motor." And I go, "I know, it is so sweet."
Were you turning what, a 13 or 14-inch prop?
Well, to break it in, I just ran a 12-inch prop, you know.
Oh, just a little prop.
Yeah, I know, something really easy for it to turn over. Yeah, I keep forgetting that is not a little prop, but yeah, it's a little prop, a 12.6. Yeah, I got some 14-inch props from the Ukraine. I'm pretty excited about. They're made for the Stalker 76.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna jump in the shower. I sweat my butt off all day. Well, I almost said a bad word and it cost
Yeah,
me.
you're just trying to avoid the 25 cents a slur, aren't you?
Well, you see how I stuttered there when I said I sweated my
Yeah,
butt
yeah.
off?
Yeah, gotcha.
No.
You're
All
no
right.
fun at all anymore.
We'll see everybody Friday.
Take care, Steve.
All right.
Yeah,
Thanks for your Friday. Hey, thanks for your help with the battery charger and all that.
Not a problem. You can give me a call if you have any problems too, Charles.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Yep. Bye.
See you later, bro.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna head out too, guys.
Already?
All right,
yeah.
Tom. Take it
Good
easy,
night,
Tom.
bud.
So back to Peter. Peter, on that Saginaw, are you finding enough ribs to use for tip weight or what?
It's actually it's pretty much it's pretty evened out. So not a whole lot going on as far as that's concerned. But it's it is what it is. I find whatever savings I can. I just put the heavier side to the outboard side, and
Sure.
obviously it does have a tip weight box, so we'll be using that. I'm just not. I'm not one to turn around and just start replacing balsa at this point. I'm just going to use what I have.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, while you're waiting, you obviously you can build the stab and elevator and rudder, get those all shaped, and your
Oh
fuselage.
yeah.
You leave the wing and you can do your flaps, but you can leave the wing till the end.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything is out. Had a few pieces. There is one weird thing about this. Here's the plywood doubler. Okay, so we're working with the plywood doubler here that comes with the kit, and if you can, so here's the fuselage side, and then the plywood doubler. In this case, this one goes on the inboard side. But if you turn around and you line up the wing opening with the wing, right? And you get that all lined up. Notice how far out past the balsa the plywood comes.
Oh yeah.
It's way the heck out there.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why they did that. I suppose I'm going to have to trim it at some point.
Yeah, better to have too much than not enough.
Yeah, yeah.
True.
We don't make plywood stretchers.
How far does the motor mounts come out?
Yeah, that's what you got to consider. Where are the motor mounts going to be?
Hold on a second. I just.
I
Oh,
push them as far back as they'll go.
dang it! I accidentally logged myself out. Hold on a sec.
You're still there.
Yeah. One start. Except I can't see anything. There we go. The motor mounts need to be trimmed as well, obviously, because we have one motor mount, which is kind of okay. It gets to that point there.
I think you're going to find that there's
The
a good.
bottom motor mount, though, if I can turn around and just pop that in there, that kind of sticks way back.
Well, that's the one. That's the one you got to trim.
Well, you might need a piece of that block to
Swap
shim
them
something
around.
else up.
No, they're the same length. These two pieces of wood are.
But you might have a use for and they're not gonna cut one of those shorter. They're gonna let you have the use of that piece that you cut off.
Now, the one thing the one thing I have a comment on, and I'm not, how would I say, being derogatory about it, but when I looked at the layout of the laser cut parts,
yeah,
it could be a lot more efficient on the use of the balsa, or if hold on, for example, where that one's okay, that one's okay. Well, in some instances, there is the way they lay out the parts on the balsa wood blocks to laser cut them. In some instances, they can turn around and better utilize the space, the amount of balsa that they have on here. For example, on this piece here, if they turned around and they took this piece and they took this piece and put the flats against one another instead of having the curves against one another, they could use a lot less of a balsa wood sheet to get the same parts. You follow what I'm saying?
Sure. In fact, since I was the one that laid them out, the reasoning behind that is in kit making you have certain standard sizes of wood that you use.
Yeah.
And so you pretty much have to lay it out to that size of wood. You and I, as we laid it out, we could custom make our widths and our lengths whatever we want, and just utilize save a lot of balsa. But it costs them too much time in prepping to make the kit. They lose more money with the time of their people than they save doing it the way you're thinking about. Does that make sense?
I completely and totally understand that.
Yeah.
That's the only bit that I just kind of found that. Hey, believe me,
Well,
I appreciate all this nice extra scrap that I have here, and bits and pieces that I can use for all sorts of things.
Oh yeah, and that's all free.
Yeah.
The important thing is that all the parts are there and they're accurate. That's what you really need to worry about.
Oh yeah, the parts are accurate enough. Like I said, though, I only got one of these.
I know. Well, they wanted to see if you'd notice that.
But I can't remember. I think it was like I was short. They in the RSM kit, the RSM Pathfinder kit, they were short on the top and bottom bars, and I didn't have enough balsa for the top and bottom spars. So yeah, stuff like that happens.
Yeah, stuff like that happens.
So it's like I'm getting the pieces all out together, and I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do. You see, what I was thinking of, the one part I was thinking of on the fuselage for this is that, unfortunately, it doesn't double up all the way back to the back here, but you can see that on the Saginaw back here towards the tail where the stabilizer goes in, there is not much real estate here. So I'm just wondering what kind of stiffness I'm going to have back. And it seems pretty stiff. I don't think I'm going to get too much twistage there. So I was thinking that, on top of the plywood doublers, once I put the wing mounts, well, once I put the motor mounts on, before I put the plywood in, I may just put some carbon veil as far back as where the geez, these go, because these would go somewhere like right, give or take right there on the side. And let me see, I can see that from right here. And that lines up perfectly right there. So on either side, but there's also the plywood doubler, and then there's an 1/8 of an inch filler sheet that goes all the way back here, of course, so to make up for the thickness of the plywood doubler that goes on the engine mount. So I'm going to probably put carbon veil all the way through here, all the way back to here, just to stiffen the whole thing up.
Well, that side piece there, what's it? What's that for?
What's that?
That's the engine. That's a simulated jet intake.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there's one goes on either side. They only gave me one.
Hold that in place and move it so I can see the cutout for the elevator.
Well, see that you are flying a control line, so it's only going to need one jet engine to fly in a circle.
There you go. No,
So to give you an idea, if I put it on the other side, you can see where the line is for the wing opening.
I want to see.
Right
I want to see how close it is to the. I want to see the elevator cutout because I want to see how much unsupported distance.
Okay, hold on. Let me go here to here, which it's all pretty doubled up all the way.
So you're only talking, what is that, about 6 inches?
No, that's more like 10 inches.
Okay, 10 inches. Listen, if you want to get fancy with something, you could I'd make a diagonal cut and drill in and drill it both directions and slide a piece of 1 or 3/16 inch carbon fiber rod.
Yeah, right down the middle.
Doesn't even have, no, put one at the top and one at the bottom.
Okay.
And just go from about maybe 2 inches or 1.5 inches or so up in with it where it'd be covered by the engine itself, and back to just in front, inch in front of the stab there, and get it as close to the top and the bottom, one each, one close to the top, one close to the bottom, and you will have a very stiff fuselage back there.
Yeah,
and you won't add hardly any weight. And the carbon fiber veil, like Trajan says, doesn't give you much in a torsional rigidity because it's not a unidirectional. It's a hodgepodge. It's
Yeah, it's in all direction, but the one thing it does do is and then that I kind of like when I was sitting there thinking about it, it's the grain of the balsa for this is running, the grain is all running in this direction.
Right.
Anything that actually goes like this, the carbon veil has got strands going in all different directions, will help with the stiffening up the grain that runs across,
if you really want to stiffen it up easily, just use a little 64 plywood on both sides.
Well, no. There you go. It does have plywood.
Right, that's for the front. I'm talking about in the back.
Ah.
Boom. Nice.
I heard that.
What was that?
That was
cool.
In there?
That was me.
But I'll tell you, the kit is pretty sweet because you get the fuselage is almost all one piece. The only thing is, the only things that you have to add are a little bits and pieces like, okay, this piece here gives you your profile for your canopy. That goes up the top there. And then there's another piece that goes on the bottom, is the same way to give it some more shape. But
Now-
otherwise, you can't get simpler.
Are you gonna cut the bottom out or slide the wing through?
No, I'm gonna. But since there's a whole lot going on the wing sides, you have these two of these to install. This splits down. This ends up splitting down the middle on the on this line here. So it's designed to actually you cut the lower part of the saddle out, and then you turn around, you mount the wing in, and then you turn around and you add the bottom, all the bottom pieces in there.
No.
It's just designed to assemble that way.
Peter, the way you're holding it right now, look at it, the way you're holding it, where you got your right hand, that is the bottom of the nacelle.
Yes.
Okay. Don't put it in upside down. You'll be unhappy.
No, of course not. It's got to go up this way. But what he was saying is that rather to assemble it and then slide the wing through the opening, it's really not. The kit's not designed to assemble that way. It's designed to cut the bottom out and then turn around and then attach all of this structure afterwards.
That structure there covers over the joint that you cut out to get the wing in. It strengthens that joint, covers it. The bulge, that lower bulge, is actually below the 3/8 fuselage, the bulge on the bottom. So it really kind of looks like the intakes on an F-14, similar to that. Anyway, Dick Piscini, I think, did a really interesting job designing it.
Yeah, as you can see, if you turn around, you take this piece, and if I line it up with the cutout holes, you see how it is below, it turns around and it is below the fuselage side. So if I move it up, you see it comes down. If I line it up, it actually comes down below the actual fuselage side. And that is where you see what it is, what's happening there. Let's see if I can flip it around this way. It's actually, the fuselage side is higher. That's where, let me see that. That's sort of where this piece comes in, because this piece will turn around, and this piece will turn around and fit in right about there on the fuselage. And
actually it goes forward
back a little bit.
Goes forward a bit.
And
yeah, right there.
And that levels it the whole thing out.
Yep.
You gonna round the edges off before you glue it on?
Yes, you do.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Good.
Oy. Oh, there goes the damn mouse again. So yeah, it's a really, when it's finally all assembled, the wing to fuselage joint is really solid. I mean, it's quite a bit more solid than your typical profile, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the wingspan on that?
What is that? It's 50 and a half inches. It's 525 squares.
So it's a 35, 40 size airplane.
Yep.
And it's nostalgia legal.
And it looks cool as all hell.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, you brought up something there. If you got a kit that says 35 to 40, do you recommend doing the 35 or going as much power as you can get out of it, or to save weight, do the 35?
Depends on what I got for a 35 or a 40.
Yeah.
See how it balances.
Yeah, that Thunder Tiger 36 is a powerhouse, and it doesn't take a back seat to most 40s. If you get a Brodak 40, that's plenty. If you get like the one I'm going to build, I'm going to put a Stalker 40. I got a Stalker 40 with a side exhaust that I've got specifically for that airplane, because the rear exhaust doesn't work that good on a profile.
No.
True.
No.
So, you know, it really, like, to answer the question again, it depends on what you got available in those sizes.
Okay.
I mean, the design, when it was built back in the day, the only thing they had was basically the OS-35, and that's what it flew with. And it was winning contests with an OS-35 Stunt S, you know, one of the baffle piston engines.
That's right.
So it'll perform with that. You can rest assured that it will perform with that. But in this day and age, you know, I'm not putting. I do have an OS Max 35 Stunt that I could put in there, but when I figured out that every other engine that I have, all the other engines I have are Schnurl ported engines, and I'm going to be running a certain fuel in those. It's, you know, you basically at 20% oil, 10% nitro. The OS-35 Max is not going to be happy with that. And instead of having to go out and buy completely separate or different fuel just to run the 35 Max, I figured I'd get the Thunder Tiger, put that in there. I can run the same fuel in that as I'm running in my Super Tiger 51 or any of my FSR engines, and be done with it.
And that's why I like the Stalker, because I buy FAI fuel and I run it and everything.
That's the best thing about that motor.
Yeah.
All the Stalkers run on no nitro, and they run phenomenal.
Yeah. Right, Charles? He's got to sound right.
And didn't he just
That is
get a whole new
absolutely right.
Didn't he get a whole new shipment of Stalker engines in?
Probably.
I thought I saw. I think I got an email saying that he just got a new shipment of Stalkers.
Stalkers
Who's this?
aren't cheap.
Tom Dixon?
Stalkers aren't cheap, but they're not as expensive as some engines. And you get value for your money. The darn things run and run and run. Unless you get happy with the grinder and try to change things, then you're just making a piece of junk out of them.
My buddy's got a 46 side exhaust, an old one, and I'll tell you, the thing's phenomenal. It's got gobs of power.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. I mean, he's swinging a 12-inch prop with his, and it's having no trouble with it whatsoever.
Yep. Yeah, I've got a
very powerful motor.
I've got a 51 side exhaust that I picked up for a larger profile plane that I want to put it in. Yeah. Though I do have an OS-35S, and I've got a plane I'm going to build. I'm going to build that Mathis Excalibur. I had one in fact, the same engine that I have. I had it. Its previous home was in an Excalibur, and it was a nice flying combination. So I want to duplicate that.
I've been running my OS-35S this year, and what I'm doing is running it with no muffler, and it's running beautiful because it's not overheating. I find with the muffler they tend to want to overheat a lot.
Yeah. There's Tran. His motors don't overheat.
No, that's right. Trans motors never overheat.
Not unless it uses those little underpowered things.
Unless he does something strange.
I think the last time I talked to Randy, if you want to send your OS-35 Stunt, then I think he's got chrome cylinders for those things.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I might have to look into that. Though the one I have was blessed by Tom Lay. So you can imagine it runs like a top.
Let me take a look at something here real quick. Oh, come on. Go continue speaking. I want to see if I can find that email.
I've also got a McCoy 40 Lightning Bolt Redhead that I got from Tom Lay. And he did something to the cylinder on that because it can handle a muffler. Usually a McCoy Redhead cannot handle the heat from a muffler. But this one handles it like it was born to it. I don't know what he did to it. Some say he hardens them some way. That's plane ready, Tran?
My plane?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm trying to get some more trimming done on it. The weather was not cooperating for trimming. It was gusting the windows here, then I was going over there, kind of everywhere.
Yeah,
And I was like,
I was doing
what
that
the
here
heck is
today
going
too.
on? So I would like to start from scratch if I do this and have some maybe an observer on the outside to get the wings level. I'm not sure if they're level anymore.
Are you going to the nets, or you are? So you got to get it ready for that, don't you?
It's hard to find a good spotter to look at your wings too.
Yes,
You're
it is.
right. Very
Yeah.
hard.
Somebody
Yeah.
who understands to look at the lines, draw the
Mm.
line through the plane,
Mm-hmm.
and understand what a straight line looks like.
And there's a lot of people who should be good at it that aren't good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it helps if you know how to use the background, the dark trees, to see the glint off the lines and watch them as it passes through that dark area. It's hard
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
Speaking of lines, I tried Spectra today for the
Mm.
Oh,
first
how'd that
time.
go?
Not good. I didn't like it. I was using 100-pound test with so that's 018, and I found them very draggy and not responsive.
018s are pretty thick. Why were you using such big ones? What plane
Well,
was it?
hey, I've never used the stuff before. It's what I bought. It's what I
Mm-hmm.
tried, and strength-wise, no problem. I mean, I learned how to do the uni knot. I used that. It was fine.
Yeah,
No
I
problems
think
with that.
you
But
could
I
haul a
found,
marlin in. I think you could catch a marlin with lines, 018 lines, spectra
but
lines.
but I found them to be too draggy and unresponsive. I didn't find that the airplane flew very well, and I flew a lot of flights with them, thinking, "Oh, maybe there's something wrong with the airplane."
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
then tonight I flew it again with the steel lines, and it was a totally different critter. The airplane flew beautiful again.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Try one more thing, Len, before you give them
Yeah.
up. Go to 60 pound.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm gonna try something lighter. I'm just gonna save that stuff if I ever decide to try a really big, heavy airplane on them one day.
Yeah. Or
But
if you ever need to tow a car.
just so everybody knows, 100-pound test is not a good thing, even at 60 foot long on a 35 to 40 size airplane. They just
Yeah.
drag too much.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
will.
I would guess the same.
That reminded me of flying an 049 on 35-foot Dacron lines.
Yeah, it was just like that. That's exactly what it was like.
Yep.
It was very draggy, and the airplane was very unresponsive. Like it was acting strange. Like I would go to do a maneuver and it wasn't accurate. The maneuvers were all over the place, and I thought it was the wind.
Were the lines bellowing real bad? Were you getting a big bow in the lines as you
Yeah,
fly?
that's what I mean. That's what I mean by drag. They were bellowing back. Like there was
Yeah.
a definite sag from
Yeah.
my hand between my
They're
handle and the
probably,
airplane.
Yeah.
I can think two things. They're probably a little bit thicker than what you think,
Yeah,
and the drag increases quite a lot by just a little bit increase in
it was
diameter of
huge.
the line.
Yeah,
And if they're just a little bit thicker, you're gonna have a lot more bow to them. And
yeah,
second thing that I can think of, when I was using those types of lines for my in my DLG planes for a pull spring rudder, right?
yeah.
And they get a lot of pressure on them. They do stretch out. So
Okay,
what we used to do, we used to put a lot of weight on them, stretch them out before we install them in a plane.
okay.
So we put a lot of
I
pressure
tied
on
them
them.
to a fence and then just backed up and continuous pressure for some time and stretch them out like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll try
and
that.
once you do them, they don't extend anymore from that point.
Okay,
No,
maybe
that's
I'll
it.
try that.
Yeah,
I'll give them a stretch before I try them again too. Then maybe see if
yeah.
that helps.
I
Well,
think you're going to have to go from like somewhere between 45 and 60 pound test. 45, you got 90 pounds you're with both lines that you're handling.
Right.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
just
I thought we were done with the Spectra lines, but what I wanted
Nope.
to say is it's about something that I figured out. when I went out last time, because the windows was gusty and changing directions all the time. I start to play with the battery position. So I start to push the battery further and further forward, moving the CG forward on the plane at the same time. And I found out that the plane was behaving a lot nicer with the more forward CG in these bumpy and windy conditions.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and if I don't lose any pitch control on the plane, then I should be fine, because I can always increase more, get more elevator to get more turn.
Yeah, as long as you're still getting enough turn, you're all good. You're all good.
I can get more.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
John,
good.
just quickly, just so I can get John some information. The email that Randy sent me, he said he's got Chrome OS 35S parts in stock. If you want to turn around and update your any of your OS 35 stunt motors.
Okay, thanks.
That's pretty cool.
I've been trying to get a hold of Randy. I haven't had much success lately, but I'll try again soon. I phone him, I email him. Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
he
that works.
answers emails.
Okay. I will send him an email. I have an order that I put in a long time ago, and we've just not been able to get it together.
Okay, and that makes sense though, on your pulling the adding more nose weight in the windy, bumpy conditions, because that would stabilize it, you know. And if you get in the turn and that still getting the turn, or can still get the turn, you know, that makes sense. I think what do they say, that electrics seem to like a further forward CG anyway.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I understand that, and I think that's why that's the reason why. So I'm kind of happy I found that out. I'm running very little elevator throw right now. I was just trying to do a simulating how much movement I get into my hand in a turn, try to see how much I'm moving the actual elevators with no flex in the line or nothing like that. So I'm using maybe 10 or 15 degrees, if that.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. That's good.
So
yeah,
I'm not anywhere using it.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. If you have to use much more than that, there's something wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah, another thing I've done before that, I was just checking out my elevator. I put my elevator in a neutral position. I was checking the flaps, stuff like that. So the flaps was quite high up, was not horizontal, was like this, right? When the elevator were level. So I also moved the flaps to a neutral position, and now the plane is flying nice and flat on a.
Getting equal turns.
Yeah, and the turns seem to be equal. Yeah.
Good.
But in that windy condition, but at the same time, I felt it didn't feel very well, very good, because on the inside maneuvers it felt a little bit tighter, and outside maneuvers were a little bit looser. But I have no clue why it's like that, because the wind position. Just was I placed in the position because at my level I could feel the wind in this direction, and if I did the wing over this direction, it would just come out nice. And after all of a sudden, just you see the wind pushing it. It's like you have like the wind is kind of like this in two different directions.
You got to catch the correct position when you got a lot of wind.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll blow you one.
It was like the lower level mass was moving in one direction, and then above it another mass is moving in a scissoring direction.
When you get that puffy air like that, it's very hard to fly stunt.
Right.
It's very scary, and you can lose airplanes quickly too. I'm finding out.
And you can't even try to trim a plane at that point, because you don't know what's wrong.
Yeah, you're wasting your time.
Exactly. That's why I packed it up. I changed my.
Exactly. Pack it up and take it home.
Trade in my limited experience, since I'm not an expert flyer, I'm an advanced flyer like yourself, but I've been flying advanced for a long time, but there just never seemed to get enough to get it past it. But anyway, when you get one where it turns a little tighter one way than the other, it's usually in the elevator. If you can keep your flap level and give yourself, if you're getting If it's too tight on the outside, give yourself just a little bit of up elevator with neutral flaps. The other opposite, if it's the other way, play with it that way. Keep your handle biased so it's correct, straight up and down, and see if that doesn't help straighten out the turn rate. If you play with too many things in there, you might cause yourself problems in other ways. But I found that by just making a little adjustment in the elevator, and I found also that when you're doing insides, if it tries to open up, you always have to give it a little more up control to keep it in a round loop. It's trying to open up. I believe that has to do with the CG. What's happening is your nose heavy, and the nose is heavier. It's trying to track out.
Exactly. That makes sense to me.
And if it closes up on you, if you have to fight it to keep it from closing up, your tail heavy. You need to.
That's right.
But when you do that, when you get it set right, I've found like that All American Eagle that in the Blue Angels trim, that thing, I just sit there and give it control, and it'll turn consecutive loops almost flying themselves, both inside and outside, because of that, having it adjusted that way. So
did you have the CG move further back on that plane?
CG is moved is right about where it's supposed to be. I figure it by finding the mean aerodynamic chord and using percentage based on the stab and elevator compared to the wing and the flap. And I'll set it there, and then I'll put it 3 degrees behind there for the center of the lead outs.
Well, I think all of that, the way the plane, it's what I call the cycling of the control throughout the loop, right?
Right.
Because as down here, you need a lot more up elevator, but right on the top, you bring it back towards the neutral, still maintain some up elevator. So it's from the higher amount of up down here to the less amount of up there when it's inverted, right?
Yeah.
I call it, and you go back more as you come down, less as you come on top, more as you come down, less. So I'm thinking about it like cycling, right? So as the CG is very neutral, very close to the neutral point, very aft, you have to do very little of the cycling. But if the CG is very far forward,
you have to work it a lot harder.
You have to work it a lot more. Exactly.
Especially as you're going
work.
Especially as you're going from level flight and making that first climb out where you're starting to climb up. You have to give it a lot more control there than when you come around and enter into the second loop, because you've already set up that curved path. And you're absolutely right. If your CG is closer to the neutral point, you have very little of this finessing you have to do around.
Yeah.
And that's
if you call it finessing, yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah, whereas when you get it close, when you're very close, you almost have to do nothing. It does it all by itself.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's an FCG. That's an FCG. Now, I think for setting up a CG position on any plane, I think all planes are going to fly nice in nice weather, right? But find the bumpy weather or something like that, something that's kind of not really optimum, and you're going to find out that an FCG is pretty hard to fly because you're constantly controlling and constantly correcting the plane, right?
It's too hard. You're working too hard. Yeah.
Forward a little bit at the time, you find out there's a point where it starts to track and plow through that turbulence. And I think,
as long as you can still
you don't want to go further forward from that point.
No.
So you minimize the finessing and you maximize the way it flies in bad conditions.
That's true. That's true, and that is finding the point for the difference between calm weather and bumpy or windy weather. Anything can fly good in calm weather. It's trimming it to fly in all weather that gets to be interesting. One of the things I have found is that a lot of my fighting in bumpy weather and less in calm weather. In bumpy weather, it's most noticeable is like hunting as I'm going around. You come into the wind, it wants to rise. You go downwind, it wants.
That's normal on any plane. There's no plane that flies with a wing level, because that means you have zero lift. It's gonna fall out of the sky. The wing also has a little bit of angle of attack, 1 degree, a degree and a half, has something in there. So as you're flying into the wind,
how you get to where I was going? I'm a big fan of a fellow named Bob Whiteley.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob Whiteley, some years back in Stunt News, wrote an article called Things That Always Work. Now, Bob is a very tough competitor in stunt. He won the Nats one year.
1978.
Yeah, he is a considerable force in any contest he goes to. The worst place you want to be in is 1.5 points ahead of him after the first round, because he will get in there and he will outfly you by 1.5 points. Even if you do 5 points better, he'll do you better. He's a tiger. But in his article, one of the things he suggested and he brought up was planes, because of I think it's the precession, where the rotation of the prop wants to raise the nose. And so you come
gyroscopic precession.
You come into the wind, you may be, if it's 0-0, you may be okay on a calm day, but you start getting the wind, you get more of that precession coming in the wind, and that raises your nose more. And that's why 1.5 to 2 degrees of down thrust is one of the things that works every time. And I found that in setting my planes up with a little bit of down thrust, that I have all of a sudden been able to get out there and fly without having to. I mean, I've been able to bench trim it and not have to do a whole lot more. I mean, yes, a little bit, but not a whole lot more, not like I used to have to do to get it to fly for competition.
Do you use wedges to get your down thrust?
No, I designed it in the plane.
Okay.
Yep. Build a Pathfinder, you'll notice it.
I think you might notice it in that plane you're going to be building there.
The Saginaw?
Yeah, I think you might.
Hey, that's okay with me. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Randy's Vector 40 kit does the same thing.
Very well may. But it is one of the things, and he's got 3 or 4 other things, I forget what they are now, that are things that always work. But boy, I didn't understand down thrust until I read his article. And then when I read his article, it was like, wow, why didn't I think of that?
How many degrees do you use? 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree, what?
1.5 to 2 degrees.
Okay.
I mean, it's really small. You can't tell it's there really unless you actually measure it.
You can tell it if you try to put it in after you built the plane, because your spinners won't match up to the.
Yeah, it'll rub on the top or on the bottom. It'll rub on the bottom.
That little bit of down thrust, and especially when it's windy and you're coming into the wind, it increases the precession, and that makes it really want to climb if you're at 0-0. But if you got it with 1.5 to 2 degrees down thrust, you'll come into it, and you won't have as much of a tendency to rise. And the nice thing is when you go inverted, it still works, because now you're going the other way. The descending blade is the culprit. The descending blade is getting a bigger bite of air. And
how is it possible? Isn't the plane flying in the same air?
No, it's the propeller he's talking about.
Yeah. It's the propeller going on top or the bottom is going in the same air.
It's in the same air, but there's a distance between the two.
Yep. As small as it might be.
That's right. From
Just
the
try. I mean, you can always try it. Yeah.
Yeah, from the center line of the airplane to the tip of the outboard prop tip to the tip of the inboard prop tip is going to be 5 inches or each side. If it's a 10-inch prop, it's going to be 6 inches if it's a 12-inch prop. It's going to be 6.5 if it's a 13.
It's sort of this. It's sort. I suppose it's sort of the same thing as your outboard wing is actually flying faster than your inboard wing.
Yeah, exactly.
Half inch to 3/4 of an inch takes care of that, but it exists, and it is a problem. In fact, full-size conventional aircraft, if you look at a Cessna 150, 172, any of them, you look at them close, you're going to find they've got down thrust on them for the very reason.
Hey, guys. Yeah, Mike Leinke's out here commenting, and I was gone when he was commenting, but he was apparently referring to what Lynn was saying, and he asked the question, how many ounces was the plane you were flying? And he goes on to say if it was under 64 OZ, then you should be using 60 pounds as per AMA rules.
Okay.
That's the right thickness, I believe, is why. He said if it's under 40 ounces, you can use 40 pound.
Okay.
And then he says 100 pound is what's mandated for combat. It's too much. He says it's much too heavy for stunt.
That's the problem.
100 pounds is much too heavy for stunt.
So I need to get some 60 pound. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Also, he went on, and I was probably talking a second ago when he wrote he might have bought 100 because he's heard me talk about it, but I was sure I'd told him to use less for stunt. Okay.
That's all right. I just tried it, and I can get some 60 pound. It's not a problem, and I'll try it. I'll try the test again.
Yeah.
It's just regular braided fishing line?
It's Spectra.
Spectra Power Pro, I think is what it's called.
That's what I've got. Spectra Power Pro. That's right. I'm going to send the 100 to Mike or give it to him next time I see him.
$100 bill?
$100 bill, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I don't care. Mike and I don't care about the money. I'll just give him the line. Give him some more combat lines.
Yeah.
John, I really agree with your. I'm kind of going back to your idea of how to adjust the elevator compared to the flaps to get equal turn inside and outside, and I think that's an important setting for any plane.
Yep.
To have. And the way I think about it, I'm thinking about if the elevator it's level, it's 0-0, right? And if flaps is down, you have more lift on the inside maneuvers than the outside maneuvers. So the inside is going to be tighter. If the flap is up, then you're going to have more outside maneuvers, faster outside versus inside. So by just playing with that, you can get them both equal. And I remember when I was flying prior to the last flap adjustment that I had, the outsides were very just move the top one higher or the low one lower or something like that. But the equivalent.
Okay, live stream's back on now.
The equivalent for that, it means like they're here now or they're over there. So what does it mean? Like it's gonna be a mechanical help. It's like a power boost, because now it's easier to do this when they both pull under your hand, or they force you to go down all the time. Where you have, you can give it more down than up, things like that, But if you keep them centered, and now the plane it's trimmed from the flap elevator push rod to have equal turn, then you have a nice even pressure on your hand. Everything is just it's there. It's correct,
It's
you're
centered.
better to trim the plane than the handle if you can.
It's centered and true. Keep your handle centered and true to your hand. Adjust your other controls where you can. Remember what I can't imagine what it was like in the 50s. We didn't have these adjustable things.
Oh, exactly.
It was terrible.
Yeah, we just learned by trying to fight with it and do the best you could.
Yeah,
Even later than that. I mean, flying in the 70s, I had the same problem. I'm flying with an easy just handle with no adjustments whatsoever except the length of the cable. It's useless.
Yeah.
That yellow handle thing.
No, the old easy
Red.
just hot rock. I know. But even still, all you had was handle line adjustment. You couldn't adjust the width or the bias or anything else. No, there was no adjustment.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yep, hot
I
rocks.
got a bunch of those. I got a couple of those yellow ones too. That's what I used to think that was a good handle, but man,
Yeah,
it
the
sucked.
Sullivan handles. They're terrible. They're like the worst of the worst.
That's what I flew my first contest with.
How'd you do?
I think I came in third out of 3 and brought a trophy home from Huntersville.
You're a very lucky boy.
Contest in Huntersville went that way.
That's
You
not
know,
bad. I had a better hand than mine. I got first.
It's hell when there's only 3 guys there and you get 4th.
Yeah, that does suck.
Been there, done that.
I would have got my first place trophy if Shug hadn't showed up and squeezed me out. That was first time I flew intermediate. I got second place, I think, second or third. I don't know. But Shug, yeah.
Shug Emery.
Did you see his new video on Stunt Hangar where he's taking a maiden flight on his SV-11?
No, I haven't seen Shug lately. I need to go. I've been terrible about reading the forums lately. I should go back. If he's posted, I want to see it.
Yeah, he posted he's got an ARF SV-11 and he's got a not Kaz's 76, the
Rojet?
No, not the Rojet, the other one, the underfleet.
Stalker.
Not the Stalker.
Jeez.
Pipe tip. Huh?
PA?
The one everybody's flying, the PA.
Yeah, PA.
The PA. He's got a PA 76 on it, and that thing runs beautifully. And he goes out and he says he just got his first flight, just to fly it around. I might do a couple of maneuvers. He does about half the pattern out there, having enjoying it because it's flying so good for him. So yeah, you got if you like Shug's post, that's there's a killer right there.
Jim Walker, you really?
Has anybody here actually owned one of these and flew one?
I have what's left of one, but I never. It was too heavy, too much weight out in front of your arm, your hand. But yes, I know.
I did own one, and I did fly airplanes with one for a short period of time.
I knew guys that would launch their own airplane with that. They then
reel it out.
They reel it out until something happened, and they went there, and the lines went out the end of it. The plane flew away.
Have you ever heard of putting a stake out halfway to the middle of the field and standing next to the wing of the plane, and then when you're ready to launch, just move your foot and the plane takes off and goes and unwraps itself at half turn around the stake, and you're off to the races.
Yep.
Never heard of that.
This is the handle I have. Yeah. This is the handle I'm using right now.
Oh, that's nice.
I have a single screw in here that adjusts the bias on to get it centered. That's the only adjustment I have in this handle.
Yeah.
And this is a Kevlar rope that I'm using. I think it's rated for like 300 or 600 pounds, something like that.
Yeah.
Some insane amount, right?
Yeah.
And this Kevlar is never gonna go. It doesn't go bad. Here, let me take over here. So, and at the end, I have just, you see that?
Yeah. Look who's asleep.
So that's that, and this is the ends.
Huh.
See them?
Okay, I see it. Yeah, I was curious how you did that inside there.
That's
cool.
That's like a cross between the old cable handle and a solid point.
Yeah, it's just basically it's a solid point where it's just a little bit in front of my fingers. You know, it's not too far forward, right? It's kind of centered, and this line kind of goes down through here and comes out on the other side. So it's a single piece.
Okay.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
reminiscent of it's a modern Easy Just.
like that. So one thing I really like about this is that when I'm done flying, I can just put my handle like this, and I'm not worried about like you're worrying with a solid line. You're worried about the lines kind of going like this
Getting
or
kinked. Yeah.
kinking or bending back and forth and stuff like that. There's none of this. I mean, it's like this is one thing I really do not worry about.
Yeah.
And since it's Kevlar it's meant, you know, pretty much is going to last you for the, you know, for as long as you keep it, because it's meant to act as if it will never break, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kevlar, you can do it like this with it all the time, as much as you want. It will not break. It's designed like that. Even I think anything else that's not made out with Kevlar thread inside of it is going to break eventually, like this nylon cords or stuff like that. They will break eventually, but the Kevlar will not.
Have you ever tried a hard point handle, Tryon?
Yeah, it's a hard point handle.
Well, that's not basically a hard point handle. You got that overhang. You have a lot of overhang with that. But have you tried a hard point handle? You actually tried one?
I wasn't very. The only reason for which I made this handle is because Fitzgerald told me that my handles that I'm using they were kind of heavy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to go.
I got a hard point from Wayne that it was too big for his hand that he gave me, and I was just getting ready to try it out, but then I hadn't flown since then, and it's super light, feels good. I'm thinking I might like it.
Yeah. So what Fitzgerald was saying that he's feeling the plane because the handle is very light. He feels the tension in the lines everywhere as he flies and stuff like that. So that's what he said. So since I have all my adjustments built inside the plane, I can make my controls more sensitive or less sensitive from inside the plane. I don't need that adjustment over here at the handle. The only thing I need at the handle is the neutral point.
But
and that's it.
But Tryon, you never tried a handle like this though? You never tried one?
I was looking at those, and actually I had one of those, but what I don't like about them is that the lines always get kinked and bent and stuff like that at the base of it. If you leave the handle on the lines as you reel your lines in,
That's
or
true.
else
You're right. I do disconnect my handle from my reels. I do.
But you do that, okay?
I do that, but you haven't tried one of these though at all, right?
No, I didn't try one of those.
Okay. You should try it. Just see what it's like, because it's like you know, we all want that instantaneous result. I mean, just instantaneous. And there is a little bit of delay when you have a long lead before you get to your wires, like what you have.
Like a cable handle.
Yeah,
But
with
that's,
it's instantaneous. I know you can adjust it in your plane, but even with that plane, I mean, you might just want to try it just to see what it's like.
Charles,
you know what, Charles? But that happens because that happens in those the other handles that you're talking about. They have these lead out wires that are made out of many strands. It's a very thick cable, right?
Right.
So that cable kind of has like a little bit of a bow into it or something like that as you give it the controls. So like you say that because that's connected, the lines are connected directly to the handle. You have none of that bow, none of that happen. But with this handle, I don't have any of that bow.
Right.
Because this line is very flexible.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know,
what you're talking about with the
if it's
metal gives you a kind of a boingy springiness that
Yeah.
there's nothing that you can do but add unwanted input.
Yes,
Charles,
but this is very flexible. Has none of that.
Charles, what the difference that we're talking about here is the hard point that you're using and the reason you use it as opposed to a cable, the adjustable cable. His Kevlar doesn't have that stiffness. It's like a limp noodle, and so it doesn't have any, how would I put it? It doesn't have any looseness as you inside the handle or about there because being so flexible. So it's like being connected as a hard point uh, into the Kevlar. I mean, so the problem doesn't exist with his handle that exists with a handle with a cable, adjustable cable setup.
Especially those thick
But
ones.
you
Yes.
guys can't. I mean, for me, I mean, scientifically, I just wouldn't go by what I think. I would try them both and know for sure that I know what I'm talking about because I've tried them both. That's why I have specifically. Have you tried this? Because I mean, I've tried just about everything, so I know for myself. You know, not based upon what I think or what I've read or what have you. I actually go out there and try it, and you might not tell any difference. I mean, there's some people who say, Charles, I've tried a hard point handle and I don't feel any difference. And I go, okay, cool, great for you. But
how do you adjust that?
It's only it's only a hard point handle compared to whatever other kind of handle, right? So, long story short, I know Mark McKinney was using a hard point handle on his plane, and he's very happy with that. So, and I flew his plane, and I, really say basically it's like flying the same plane to me. I mean, just not much difference.
Yeah, but again, you're making an
I
assumption.
didn't notice it anyways.
Charles,
Yeah,
I have flown both kinds.
okay.
Not with the Kevlar. I can see the advantage with the Kevlar because it's much more resilient and flexible. But
Yeah.
I used to build my own custom adjustable cable handles, and they were very light. They worked good for me. There was, there was very little of the sponginess that a lot of the cable, especially some of the commercial ones, have in the controls. But I did go to the hard point because it gave me just that little bit of extra preciseness, I guess I'd call it. That little bit of extra.
I agree.
How do you adjust them?
You adjust them. Put the handle up again, would you, Charles? Okay. Make that big, would you?
Yeah. Let me find Charles. I'm having trouble seeing right there. Oh, there he is. Okay. It'll be big. There we go.
See those two bolts that are on both ends of the handle?
That's like the handle I got that I haven't used yet.
Yeah.
You can loosen those bolts.
Okay, so the tabs slide in and out?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you lose your advantage if you do that. I keep mine all the way up. I'm missing the screws. I'm going to assemble this handle, but I adjust the lines with very different lengths.
Various clips. Yeah, exactly.
But now, the only time I've lengthened this is if, let's say, I come out of a hard corner and the plane bounces. And this is what I learned from Sparky, by the way. That I would lengthen the legs, both legs, and then I'll be able to. The problem is when it bounces, it's because I can't get back off of it quick enough. And so by lengthening the legs, I'm able to get back fast enough, and the plane will be flat out of the corner.
Right.
So,
I got you a handle right here.
Also,
just get rid of that thing.
Yeah, it was in a box with some other stuff I got. So
nail it up, put it on the wall.
I didn't see your handle, Ed.
It's easy.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
Put that in the circular file.
One.
here's another one that came in. I don't know what kind of.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's some old shit. Excuse me. Stuff.
There's an adjustable cable handle right there.
Right.
And if you look at it, it's got a relaxed grip on it.
It's got adjustable cable from bad to worse.
Yeah, yeah, really.
And it's got
Got plenty of that boingy boingy I was talking about.
I love that cable. That's in real good shape.
Yeah, ain't no telling how old where it's been.
You know who
Yeah,
collects
yeah.
handles if you want to donate it? What's his name down there in Oklahoma? D Hill. D Hill collects handles. He's got probably the biggest U-control handle collection in the world.
You know what?
Whitemore's got some strange handles. He's got one made from a saw blade, a regular old tool great saw, and it weighs like a ton.
Let's go back and let Charles finish his discussion here.
So anyway, that was just my only encouragement was just to try and just actually try it. That's my only encouragement. He doesn't have to, but I'm just saying, try it. You just can't go by an assumption. I mean, even though it might make sense, sometimes the real deal, real life will be different than what you think.
Good point, Charles. Well taken.
The one thing, thank you, Charles. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome, man.
I think I flew with a handle like that when I went back to Illinois to retrieve my plane because Chris Road was using a handle like that. So after I made the change back to my handle, I didn't see much of a difference. But long story short, and Mark McKinney is using it right now. One thing I really don't like about it, I kind of like to leave my handle on the lines. So I have the lines and the handle in one package. And every time if you do that, I know Mark McKinney at the end of the lines, just real close to the handle itself, they were kind of kinky and stuff like that. So I'm going like, I don't know about that. So
I totally understand trying because one thing you can do that I can't do is adjust my plane to the extent that you can adjust your plane.
Exactly.
So you can dramatically make your plane more sensitive than I can. So you might not need it, but who knows?
I have that same problem.
If you have it, if you try it, who knows? You might even find you really like it.
Yeah.
Because it is something about having those wires so close to your hands. I mean, when you're holding that handle and that wire is right there, I mean, it's amazing when you come out and you just hit that up or down. It's amazing.
Okay. No, I'm getting that, Charles. I understand that.
And I understand you too, man. I understand.
Yeah.
It would be nice to keep my handles to my reels, but I don't because I'm afraid they're going to get kinked. And I make my own line, so trust me, I don't like making lines unless I absolutely have to or someone's paying me.
And I did see a lot of people that use those the handles with the wire as well, the steel wire, and they lose the planes because it fails all of a sudden. You don't see where it wears out and where it like bending it back and forth. Eventually they give up. And I heard so many people having those handles, and they say, I almost crashed the plane because I was holding on only on one strand or on two strands or something like that.
I've been using hard point handle. I like the Fancher style handle, which is but I leave my handle on my lines. I reel it up just like you do. Put the clip there close, and then I put them in a plastic bag, a Ziploc. Put them in there. They don't get bending around. I've been doing that for probably 12 years now, 10 years.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with my.
I put a block of squishy styrofoam in between the clips and the rest of the spool to keep it from missshaping the line coil.
What are you showing us there, Len?
Well, what I've got here, these are the custom handles that I make. I make these handles myself out of Russian birch plywood and I laminate them. There's like 23 laminations of plywood in them. But what I do is I understand with the hard point though. I see Tryan's point is that you can't put the clip on because otherwise it's going to kink the lines. Whereas with with the cable handle, it doesn't hurt it. It stays fine.
Oh,
So I want to make one of these handles with the hard point ends on it. I'm going to make one in the next little while, but I have to figure out a way in which that I can keep the handle attached to the lines like Tryon says, but not kink the lines. I'm going to try and make something. I'll let you guys know what I come up with.
Len, you can also use this handle. You can also try this also. Try to put Kevlar instead of that hard wire that you have on your handle.
Right. Now, where do I get the Kevlar?
It's if you look at the survival stores, they sell Kevlar
yeah.
thread.
Parachute, outfitter,
Okay.
fishing outfitter, you know, any of those.
Now, this handle I'm using is basically a windy style handle with the holes in it.
I recognize that.
With the holes in it and the brass tubes.
Yeah, it looks like.
Now, my question is, will the brass tubes cut the Kevlar or not?
No.
Okay. All right. I will give that a try then. See if I like it.
No, especially if you have a little bit of if you round it a little bit over there.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, I have
Okay.
a little bit of that.
Yeah, I'll just make sure the edges aren't totally sharp. Okay.
What you got there, Charlie? Charles?
Now, the other thing, yeah, Charles, that's right. You don't like Charlie. Now, one thing I've done over the years is I used to try to, I didn't like to twist the lines over the slot in the reels.
Right.
Because I'd get a kink. So I was trying, rubber bands. Then if I went too long before using the reels, rubber bands would corrode and it'd be a mess. So I just started drilling holes in the clip and putting a connector on it. And I put the lines ends on the clip and I just close it onto the reel. And it keeps the lines.
Yeah, that's perfect. I've done that for years. That's perfect.
Yeah,
that's where I put my squishy
it's kind of a
styrofoam
pain
too.
in the butt, though, to drill this hole in stainless steel. I mean, you can't let that drill stay on that stainless steel very long. You actually got to kind of punch it through, or it'll get hardened and you can't drill through it. I learned that
It's the other end of your lines that gets damaged because of the slot that they go through.
Yeah.
And when they exit.
I got these new new reels from the Ukraine, and they're really nice because let me grab one real quick. Where did I put him?
Charles has gone down under.
Yeah.
Look, I found here on eBay high strength Kevlar. For 100 feet of it, 350 pound rated.
Cool.
$11.
Perfect.
What can you give me the URL or anything on that trend?
Give me a second.
Did you say that's on Amazon?
eBay. You could probably find them on Amazon too.
Okay.
Well, we're going to lull here for a minute. And if anybody's interested in the Fancher style handles,
you got one in front of you?
Our guy on YouTube is the current manufacturer. That's Brent Williams, and he does a very good job making those kits.
Okay, yeah, I knew Brent made something. I didn't remember what it was.
He makes a lot of things. That's one of the things he makes.
The only part I have trouble making is the metal parts. The rest of it I can make myself.
Yeah. I know. I've been thinking about maybe commissioning a water jet guy and just pay for several hundred of them made.
Like a case of them.
Yeah, exactly. Because I can make the wooden part, I just can't make the metal part.
I'm in the same position.
Yeah. So this is a reel that control line parts sell on the internet. These are Ukrainian reels.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can see there's a hole in the middle.
Yeah.
Can you guys see that? So the wires go in there instead of using the one on top. I mean, it has that crease as well, but you put the lines in that hole and then around the reel. And then when I
Okay.
get done, I attach my clip I showed you, which has the hole, which has the connector, and
Okay.
it's great. And on top of
That
that,
makes sense.
these are only $3 a piece
Okay.
compared to our other outlets are
Hold it up
five.
really hold it up really close again. I want to see that hole.
Okay, let's see here.
Okay, so now your lines go through that hole, and then where do they go to?
And then you wrap it around. I don't know if I'm making any sense to you, but when you start, instead of starting where the slot is, I insert the wires in that hole, and I just hold my thumb.
But what holds them still while you start to wrap?
Well, the hole is well, I mean, it just seems to
it's got a little notch in there.
Well,
yeah, it does. It's got a notch in the center hole, and I just use a little bit of tension to get it started.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That works. Okay.
Not a lot of tension.
But it's these are really nice at $3 a piece.
It keeps the wires from kinking anyway.
Right.
Those are easier to use than the bigger 4-inch ones too.
Yeah. And also, like, unlike this handle, only has 2 holes. This has 3.
Oh, cool.
So from any direction you can grab it, and turn it.
Exactly. Yeah, you can go from either side. Exactly.
Right. And then I always use a winder, and I don't have any here, I don't think. But it's just a piece of not 1 inch, but maybe 3/4 inch PVC with a cap on it.
I know
the one. Right. Yeah, it fits the center hole, and then the other
that long.
It's the.
And it's a nice little. It's important to have equal tension the whole time. And when you're using your fingers, if you have fingers like me, I have big hands.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah,
wrap
me too. It's wobbling around and everything. Yeah. So I got one of those.
I've rolled up so many million sets of lines that I don't find I have a problem anymore. I just it's done.
And my hands
I'm pretty good at it. I mean, if I forget my winder, I do it by hand, but I still think it's smoother. And the wires will last longer if you
Oh, most definitely. If you can get them even, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I have a customer who's come up to me, and he goes, "Charles, my lines that I bought from you are kind of messed up, and I haven't had it very long." And I said, "It's the way you're wrapping them up,
Yeah, exactly.
And I said, "Here's a winder, try it, And my lines, they last. I'm always inspecting them, but they last a long time. But once I get a broken strand, then that's it.
Get shot.
That's it. I just don't take any chances.
My lines last a long time as long as no stumble bum walks over them in the pits or something.
Oh yeah.
I know guys that have got, it's either an old electric screwdriver and kind of, or it's a wiper motor or something. Anyway, they've modified it so they can just stick their line reel on it, hit the button, and it rolls it right up for them. That was Carl Shoup that did that.
Oh, wow.
And it's slicker than all get out because you got good equal tension and it's very fast.
Yeah, cut your finger off. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I'll see y'all later.
Okay, Eddie. Have a good time, man.
Take care.
And,
Take care.
Come back Friday or whatever day it's not.
This has been a good.
Somebody fell asleep there.
This has been a good discussion.
I'm having trouble with my eyes tonight, so that I might look like I'm asleep. But
No, I'm talking about CS there.
Oh.
I can't remember. What's his name?
No, CRS. CRS.
CRS. Sinclair. Hey, wake up! Wake up!
He's gone.
Oh, Gary. He's talking about Gary Sinclair. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's doing a Len.
Talking about CRS when you get older.
Call him Len. Hey, Len, wake up.
Len, wake up.
Hey, Gary. Wake up, Gary.
Hi, Gerald.
Hey, Gerald.
Yeah, he's really
bleeping
gone.
during our shows happening in epidemic
Oh, look,
proportion.
he moved. He moved.
There he is. He's
There he
back.
is. Hey, wake up.
Gerald, how things down in your neck of the woods?
We got
Hey,
you.
Gerald.
Okay.
How you doing, Gerald?
Oh, good, thank you. I just thought I'll come in. I'm working on some combat models. I'm trying to get ready for our slow combat meet, but I thought I'll come in and say hello. I've been
Welcome
listening.
to the Nut House. We're just kind of wrapping it up. I think everybody's falling asleep, it looks like.
Everybody
How's
except
everybody?
the
Elena, the boys, Max and Otto, everybody doing good?
Oh, they're all fine, thank you.
Good.
Good stuff.
How are you keeping, Rusty?
Gary talks as much when he sleeps as when he's awake.
Gerald, I read your post here yesterday. I thought it was sort of good.
Oh, which post was that? Sorry.
It was on the motor you were running or had run. You were talking about. I think it was the Super Tiger 46 or something like that. 60. You talk about several motors that you'd run.
This is on something.
I'm woefully down on my forum reading. I don't know. Must not be ringing a bell with Gerald either.
I'm sort of trying to struggle to remember which post it was.
Well, maybe you posted it last year and it just got here.
Maybe.
Sometimes people answer a post and not realize it's 2 years old. And,
I know.
Carry and restart it, and everybody restarts like it just happened today.
Well, it was on engine. So.
Oh, it must have been the Super Tiger 35. I think we were talking about that.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was talking to Rusty about one yesterday. Oh, not Rusty. When Sparky came on yesterday, he pulled out a brand new in the box one that he had, and we were talking about them. But I had a brand new one back in the 80s that I'd still bought. It was new in the shops here in New Zealand. We've got old stock often sitting around for 10 years after they stopped producing them. So I bought one in the 80s, and I had it on a Sig Mustang, and it was a nice motor. It was quite a good little motor, but the plane got heavier after I dinged it, and I went to a 46 instead of the 35. But I've still got the motor there. But the Super Tigers are such nice motors. That's what I got my wife for her birthday, was a Super Tiger X40 that she wanted to. She just liked the blue head, and she just thought I'd like to build either a stunt model with the rear exhaust Super Tiger.
I wish my wife's birthday list looked like that, but not yet.
Gerald and I have got it good for that. We just buy our wives' model airplane products for their birthdays and Christmas. It works great.
Yeah, you do got it made, Lynn. That's true.
Tell you, it's unreal.
Yeah, you can buy your wife what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Supports my hobby.
Yeah, my wife just enjoys the flying, especially. She used to do a lot more building, but occasionally she'll get out the sanding block and she'll start working away on something too. And she encourages our two boys to fly. Like the other day when we didn't fly, the boys were saying, "Come on, Dad, we've got to get out and fly. We've got to go and fly." Even though the weather's terrible, they're really keen. So they sort of they've got the bug.
If you want to fly good, you need to learn to fly in bad weather.
Yeah. Max is slowly getting the inverted now. He's sort of taking some examples from his mum and being a little bit more daring and experimental, whereas Otto, being a bit older, a lot more confident. But
Naomi and I both flew today.
Oh, that's good.
It was a good day.
We got a couple of messages in the chat box. I bet Trey posted those. Did you, Trey? Yeah.
Yeah, I put some links over there on that thread.
Got it.
Actually, it's 500 pound test. What I put over there. 500, 600, you can get any of those. It's a little bit more bulkier, a little bit thicker, but it's very flexible. It's super flexible, has no stiffness whatsoever in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm quite keen
Yeah.
with that idea. People are lead outs. It sounds a good idea. I was listening into what you're saying, Tran.
Yeah.
Just for quickly, read what's in the yellow.
Oh, heck. Oh, decomposes. Needs protection against sunlight. But that would be constant exposure, I imagine, not the amount of time we're flying.
No,
Yeah,
I'm
I mean,
not
what we
saying,
take.
I'm not saying that it's the constant time that we're flying, just something to keep aware of. I remembered something because I do a lot of military contracts, and I remembered something about Kevlar and sunlight, that it has to be treated to against UV.
Don't worry,
Yeah,
I'll put
when I think of Kevlar, I usually think of black.
Don't worry, I'll put
It's actually
sunscreen on
yellow.
it.
Kevlar, it's actually yellow, but sometimes they dye it in a different color. For example, if you go on eBay, you can find a bunch of it that's black or green or some other colors. But I think they put color, some kind of color inside of it to make it look like that.
Yeah,
And maybe it's for that very purpose, because of the UV protection of it.
Yeah, maybe.
But for how much I fly, if I go fly in a year, how much do I expose these lights to the light? I mean, I think it's insignificant. I think that might be true if you keep them outside for years on end, and they are under tension, constant use or
I'm
something
just
like that.
saying that it's just like certain things. If you turn around, it's like your window shades. If you leave them out, if you pull them down, ultimately the UV bleaches all the color out of them. It is susceptible to that, but like I said, I just figured I'd throw it out there. Just something that I remembered back.
We appreciate it. We're just teasing you. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. If I have my handle out there for too long, I'll just put sunscreen on it. Don't worry, it'll be fine.
You're in the part of Canada where you don't get that much sunshine anyway.
Oh, we get enough. Sure didn't feel that way today, I'll tell you. It's sunny.
If you're out there flying where you're wire deteriorates, you probably should be national or world champion by then. If you're flying that much.
That's right.
Probably afford a new set of lines that way.
Yeah.
Oh, Leonard, that was the Spectra that I've been using.
There we are.
The Max Curio one.
Yeah.
Pro. And
what's the test on that? 65? Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that seems to be a common size that people are using for their sun models. It's a bit heavy for like a 15 or a 20 size model, but for a 35, 40, 50 size model, it's quite good. But
perfect.
It fades in the sun, but it doesn't seem to weaken it. The yellow line goes white or clear after a while, but it hasn't seemed to cause any difference in the actual strength. But it was like people used to say the mylar on your combat models gets weak over time. But again, you don't leave them out in the sun, so the mylar doesn't fall apart.
Fly more combat, you won't have to worry about it. It won't be around long enough.
I've just got a big roll of mylar. I've got to recover some tonight.
There you go.
Gary, did you ever try to use the DocuLam to cover those?
I've got some. I've heard of it, but no.
It's a lot stiffer than it's a lot stiffer than almost anything I've tested for half the weight.
Yeah.
Is it a polyester resin?
I don't know. Yeah. The problem with it is that it has a very low shrink, right? So when you lay it down, you have to stretch it out as best as you can before you even attempt to shrink it. But it holds its shape and is very stiff.
Yeah, I've got some there. I wanted to try.
I mean, it's cheap too. You can buy a roll of the doculam that's about 12 inches wide and a few 100 feet long for close to nothing.
Yeah, I got some from a local stationery. I'm going to try out. I'll give it a
Yeah.
go. But I've got one mold here that I got from another guy in the club that used it to cover it, and it does seem to be more durable than the mylar. It's more pop resistant, and it does seem to be very stiff. But the
It's very
mylar
stiff,
varies as
yes.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
I did
mylar varies.
I did the research when I was building my woody glider, my wood buildup DLG discus launch glider, and those take a lot of pressure and they like to twist a lot in launch because people launch them very hard, like 60, 70 miles per hour. When they leave their hands. So
is that like a rubber launch or is that a throw?
just throw it.
Discus throw, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they throw it at very high speeds, and the wings, if they're not stiff, they like to flutter a lot. So I was looking for something that's going to be stiff, to stiffen up the wing, and the stiffest thing that I could find was this document material.
Cool.
It's very good on cylindrical shapes, and what I mean by cylindrical shapes, you can put straight lines on them, right? Somewhere like a combat wing or but elliptical stuff, it's a little bit harder to hold it on. And there's a trick to in the way you use it. You use tape, and you put your surface that you're covering, you put it down on a flat surface or whatever, and you put the doculam, but then with the tape you stretch it out, take all the wrinkles out, and only after that you put the iron on it and start to to lock it in. But it's very good. I mean, it acts like monocoat. It's sealing very well. It's very strong. It's very stiff.
Yeah.
It's much stiffer than.
Wonder if it's purpose built for modeling or some other industry.
It's used for laminating documents. So they don't like it to have shrink to it. They want it to be transparent, and they want to have a good stick to the document so they don't come off in time. So they have a very good gluing ability, very good translucency to it, but they don't have a whole lot of shrink to it. It has a little bit of shrink, but not much, very little.
I believe Mike. Where's Mike? Where's Mike when we need him? He uses something called FastCal.
Yeah, what about it? I've used that.
I don't know anything about it. I just wish Mike was on was online because he can tell
probably,
me.
he might be watching. Oh, he posted just a minute ago.
I don't think
available
anymore.
It's very durable.
I don't think it's available anymore. I think Mike mentioned that.
Isn't Pascal used for repairs on wings? Not for
No, he does his combat ships and.
Another one I've used is this stuff, Vilene, which is a synthetic tissue, and it's quite nice. It's very strong, very hard to tear. Once it's shrunk, it'll tear more easily, but you can really pull at it, and it's like tissue, but it doesn't go around the corners as well as tissue does.
Yeah.
And that's from a florist place. I bought it. Oh, I got like 100 sheets of it for like $20 for 100 sheets. So it was very affordable, but it's quite porous. You probably best to spray your dope or whatever on it to fill it gradually so it doesn't go through. But it shrinks with heat, and it also shrinks with the dope. And I've been covering some of the boys' models that they've pranged with it. It's been very durable.
That almost looks like polish pen.
Yeah,
I'm sure
I'll put a link in here for you. Take a look at it. So
I believe that fast. Go ahead.
It's in a chat box. If you look in a chat box on the messages, I put a link over there. Just take a look at it and get an idea of what it is. That's all.
Amazon. Yeah. Okay. Sewing. Okay. Let's see if my computer doesn't fall on its face when it opens its tab. Nuova. Thermal self-adhesive glossy laminating pouches. Okay. 100 pack.
Okay. Fast kill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Get 3 mil, 1.5 mil, 1.5 mil, 3 mil.
And is it sticky on one side?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. That's good stuff. I've got some scraps of it. I don't have a full roll, but I have some. It works really good on combat. It's great for repair on combat ships.
There's the delaminator.
Yeah, no kidding.
Here's a
Well, thanks
video
for
on
that.
something I've done. Here's a video on something I've done if you want to take a look at it with this doculamp stuff. You can take a look at this too. It explains step by step what I did to when I used it. So just maybe get some ideas, whatever, if you want to look at
No,
that.
thanks for posting that. Yeah, I can see it there.
Yeah, okay, so I'm done with this.
Okay. Thanks for the link.
Guys, I got to get going.
Yeah, I'm going to go to bed too. Good night,
Dirt.
guys.
Say hi to Naomi.
Will do. It's been a
Yeah,
great
good night, Lynn.
Yeah, you're.
Good
Thanks.
night, Ben.
Be
Good night,
safe.
all you
Good night,
guys.
Lynn.
Yeah, have a
Good
great
night.
night.
Good night, Len.
Yeah, good night,
Night.
Trent.
All
night,
right, now I'm
Len.
going to crash.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good night,
well,
guys.
Me
I'll
too.
bid you all good night. See
See
you
you.
all. Well, thanks, Rusty.
You hit
Good
the
night,
sack
Charles.
too, Jared? Or
Yeah,
yes,
I'll hit the sack as well.
you in there. But all right, man. Thanks for dropping in too. We enjoyed it.
Well, thanks very much for running the show, Rusty. And I'll bid you good night.
Sure thing. Yeah, I love doing it. All right, man.
Okay, well, good night.
Good
Well,
night.
who are the diehards tonight? We got John and Pete and Charles.
Oh, gee, Charles is still on.
Yeah.
I'm still here, yeah.
And it's a Monday night. He's got to go to work in the morning.
So do I.
I don't.
Yeah.
Except I work from home. I don't go anywhere.
I'm sure I've got work to do tomorrow, but I'm not sure what it is yet.
You'll
I can
find
go
out.
look on the refrigerator door. It's probably stuck up there with a magnet.
There you
Rusty's
go.
list.
That's the honeydew.
That's it. What's that in that cobalt colored bottle you got in front of your printer there, Pete?
Oh, this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious
I
also.
like that color. I want that color for my Cardinal, but I haven't been able to find it in a good lacquer.
Oh,
It's Sunlight Platinum.
I think Cover makes a color like that.
Yeah, I wanted it in lacquer, the
Oh.
spray on.
Well, what you used to be able to get House of Color, and you'd mix that in with your clear dough. But I haven't been able to find House of Color in the pigment that you can mix in like that for a long time. They just don't seem to carry it anymore.
Yeah.
But somebody's making it. If you find it, then you can mix it. You make it as light tint or darker tint. Just about.
Maybe I'll get me some of those Bud Light bottles and take it out in the driveway with a hammer and smash it to powder and mix it in with some white
There you
paint.
go.
New
Put it in
make
the blender.
glass.
Do you guys remember there was a guy, I think his name was Nelson, he would match monocoat for you. He'd make paint and he would match whatever you wanted,
No.
monocoat or ultra coat.
Really? No, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I vaguely remember some guy, I thought it was Nelson, but he it would sell you paint that would match the monocle. So when you wanted to paint the fuselage, I know there's luster coat out there that matches but that's a
Hold
spray
on.
can.
Let
But
me
this guy
see.
made paint in a jar where you could put it through your compressor and spray it,
That's pretty cool.
and it would match your monocoat. I'm interested in that myself because I'm dedicated to doing that.
You know, if you got a powder coat set up, you might find a better array of colors too.
Well,
I don't have a powder coat set up.
There are places to get paint mixed like that. Actually, I've found that go to an a good automotive paint store.
Got a new paint shop right around the corner. I might have to try that.
Yeah, they can just about match anything you want. I went in and talked to them one time several years ago about getting their pigments and putting it to be able to put it into clear dope, and they felt they could do that. They could mix it up for me. So
Okay, so you just take the pigment and add it to your clear dope, and then you'd have the. Okay.
Yeah, it's not paint; it's the pigment.
I understand. Okay. So you just add the pigment to the clear dope, correct?
Right, and you can get it so it's just translucent, so you can see through it nice and easy, or you can make it a darker shade where you can still see through it, but not as easily. Or you can, depending on which pigment you can get an opaque if you want.
Right.
My buddy Pete Peterson, who moved to Tacoma, he was famous for his they look like dyed silk span and dyed paint. He did some of those beautiful dope work on planes that I've seen, and that's what he did. He used lots of color pigments and mixed it into his clear dope.
Mm-hmm.
They look beautiful. If you look on, well, I don't know. If you look at some of the back issues of flight lines on the internet, you may see some of his planes. I don't think he's flying anymore, but he up to 2 or 3 years ago, he was flying and building and that. So you might find some examples to look at if you go in and look at the models in the past issues.
All right. You know, if that pigment was ground up into dissimilar particle sizes, you could make some really cool looking sparkly applications, especially after you put it in the oven and cook it on like powder coat.
Well, yeah, but
I don't know if powder coat works like that. I guess it does.
The problem, like for instance, metal flake was so popular in cars and that for a while. But on model airplanes, they tried it, but it was heavy because you had to put on the base spray on the metal while it's still tacky, and then overcoat it, and then to get it smooth, where you could get it.
You had to fill it in with clear.
Yeah, and by the time you did that, it weighed 2 or 3 times.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're froze up again, Rusty.
Okay. Just my picture or my voice too?
Your voice is great.
Okay. I'll get the picture back in a minute. I have to turn it off for about 10 seconds and then it'll usually be okay when it, nope, not that time.
Peter, I'm looking forward to seeing your progress on that Spirit of Saginaw.
Oh, of course. There's the blue. There's your bottle blue right there.
That's it.
That's it. It's you can go. There's a company called Colorite. They do all sorts of motorcycle and whatnot paints, and that would be Vespa 251 Cobalt Blue. They are not cheap though.
Nope.
They are certainly not cheap.
That's one of my favorite shades of blue. There we go.
How do I? Okay, let me. Boom. There we go. I'm out of it.
Boom. You okay there, Pete? You sound like you're getting a little.
No. I know about this company called Colorite because that is the only outfit that has the matching colors to my motorcycle. So if I want factory colors, that's the place that I go to. But like I said, they're not cheap.
Was it about $50 a quart?
For that blue, let's see, pint is $134.
Wow.
Wow.
Rusty, if you paint that with that color, you better insure that airplane.
Like I said, they are not cheap, but quart is going for $199.74.
Wow. Yeah, that's.
Hey, I know. I just went out and bought a couple of little jars just to do touch-ups on my bike. They were $34 a pop.
That's why I like Duplicolor so much.
Yeah, it's relatively inexpensive. I think it's $6 or $7 for a rattle can, 10 or 12 ounce rattle can.
Yeah.
Now, is Duplicolor fuel proof, or you have to put clear dope over it?
The acrylic lacquer is fairly fuel proof, about like dope, about like butyrate dope. In fact, it resembles butyrate dope a lot. The acrylic enamel is more like Rust-Oleum, but I go for the acrylic lacquer, and it plays well with the Brodak butyrate clear and colors.
Each one of these is $17.
Whoa.
Wow.
Charles, with the Duplicolor, you're going to put clear coat on it anyway. Just use clear butyrate.
I used to use luster coat on it too, but they don't make that anymore.
No.
Yeah.
I
actually liked luster coat, but the product from Hangar 9, I didn't like the Hangar 9 product.
I didn't either.
Hangar 9 spray paint. I tried the yellow, and the yellow never dried, never cured. And but the luster coat worked pretty good. But I'd have to put the can and heat it up, shake it forever. And
yeah, heat it up. That's right. You ever try to sand it? You can't. It's just it never got to where it wasn't a little rubbery.
Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't actually back then. I didn't know what to sand. I was too far away from the sandpaper back then.
You didn't know what it worked for, what the working distance was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never use luster coat again. Back in my beginner days of finishing, I used to like it because it would put a beautiful wet looking sheen on the plane, but it was so heavy and it just never hardened to a crisp either.
And it would sputter once in a while. I mean, it's like all that effort of shaking and heating it up, and then it would sputter, and you like
keeping it hot enough would help, but you're right, it would spit once in a while.
Yeah.
It was good for sticking spiders down to the backside of the door in the shop.
Well, that's what I like about water-based Rust-Oleum.
Yeah.
I could run that through my spray equipment. I could clean it up with water, very, very little problems with it. And it covered well. And, just like anything, if you put too much on, you can get too much weight. But
yeah,
if you use common sense and the way you do it, it worked very well for me. That Pathfinder LE, that yellow, that was Rust-Oleum water base.
Wow. And you just put clear dope over it, huh?
Yep. It was put over. Actually, I used, I think it was Duplicolor or one of those automotive spray can it was one of the Blagoat, it's a sanding sealer. as a seal coat. Put that on there and just lightly sand it to where I got any unevenness out of it, so it was smooth. But I didn't try to sand through it. You know, just I wanted a solid cover.
Yeah.
And then I put a quick coat on, and then turn right back around with a more slow flood, not a flood coat, but you know what I mean, just to get it. And that was it. That's all it took for that yellow. The problem was, though, that paint would fall, and I was painting it at Gordon Delaney's house in his plane rack, you know, finishing thing, fixture. And we didn't cover up the linoleum underneath it. He'd been sprayed open. He cleaned that right up. But that acrylic enamel hit there and dried, and I made a mess. I made a mess, and I got persona non grata for painting.
So how's he doing? How's Gordon doing?
He's actually built. I believe he's building a new airplane, or he's built one.
Wow.
And he's flying. He's feeling a lot better. His health is improving.
Oh, great.
And he's starting to fly again. I'm glad to hear that, because you know,
that's great.
He's good flying, buddy.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I saw. Who else is up there in Utah? He has that Apex plane.
That's oh, come on. Rhodes, Jim Rhodes.
Yeah, Jim Rhodes. Yeah, I saw Jim Rhodes at VSC.
I don't know that name.
Jim Rhodes has been around since dirt.
Been around since dirt.
And
I hope nobody's saying that about me yet.
Well, he's in his 80s now, so I can say that about him.
Okay.
He's a good builder. He is a pretty darn decent flyer.
Yeah.
He took that Apteryx, actually researched, bought somebody else's airplane where they were building a different airplane. It was Billy Werwich's
USA-1.
USA-1. Well,
Ooh.
the USA-1 was patterned after the Apteryx,
right.
And so there's not a whole lot of difference between the two. But he went in there and basically redid so much of it that I'd consider, and I think rightly so, that he basically built 90% of that airplane. You know, because he pulled off the if I remember correctly, pulled off the leading edges, pulled off the cap stripping, added, because the wing was thinner than with the Werwich's airplane than it was on the Apteryx, and then he went in and he put a little bit of a rib on top of the rib to bring it up to the proper thickness and that. Then put the cap strip and the leading edges and all that back on. Did that and changed. He had to change something on the. He changed a lot of stuff. He put a lot of work into that to get it to where it represented the Apteryx. So it flies very, very well.
Yeah, I like that plane. I've been watching that plane fly now for, I don't know, 6-7 years. I think I've been watching that plane fly.
Well, you'll probably watch it for another 6 or 7 years before he builds something else.
Yeah. Yeah, it flies good. He does. He did really good with that plane.
Oh, yeah. Well, he came back from one of the world's championships. He bought a Russian K8 or 10 with a Discovery Retro in it, complete in the box, I guess, everything. And he flew that for probably 10 years around here. Nice flying airplane. Then he finally replaced it with that Apteryx. So he flew it so much, he just finally wore it out in the plane.
Wow. Alrighty.
And then there's Brett Williams, who lives in excuse me, lives in Ogden, and he and his brother Curtis, we've known for quite a while. Brenda's got a mind like a steel trap. It's almost photographic, and he's, like I say, he's doing the Fancher handles, and he's doing experimentation on profiles with carbon fiber tubing used to do the aft profile portion. There's no twist in them at all, and they don't weigh hardly anything. And other things, he does a lot of things with foam wings with epoxy, fiberglass covering on it for a trainer or for a stunt trainer, for like a Teosaki type of a thing, and you can't hardly destroy it. It just, you break it, you glue it back together. Anyway, he's very active in doing a lot of these things, and he's becoming a pretty good pilot. I've been told. I haven't seen him.
Talking about Brent? Are you talking about Brent?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've spoken to him a bunch of times on the chat box and seen his posts, but I've never met him.
He's a nice guy. You'd like him.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever met him either. I know I sent an engine to him, but I bought an engine. Actually, I didn't buy an engine, but someone bought an engine from him for me, and we had a little exchange going back and forth. Is Rusty going to sleep?
Yeah, well, I'm not actually going to sleep, but my neck hurts, and so I'm just trying to find a comfortable position.
Oh, okay.
Well, if you want, we can go. I'm actually ready to see what's going on inside the house. I'm out here in the garage, and
yeah, it's getting kind of late for me too. The earlier I go to bed, the more time I'll have for being useful tomorrow. So
yeah,
I just hate to give up the show. I love doing this.
Yeah,
that's
I
great.
am looking pretty sad right now.
He won't think we all left him sitting here by himself.
Hey, Peter, we're thinking about closing it out.
Oh, okay. Just one last thing. If anybody's interested in exotic finishes, I want to just share this one link here. Here. Oh, why isn't that? Okay, there we go. That website.
Crazers.
It's called alsacorp.com. It's another one that has all sorts of different finishes that
shape shifting, or not shape, color shifting, all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yep, color shifting, all sorts of exotic finishes that they have a whole complete.
Yeah, I painted my little girl next door's kitty cat plane with color changing paint.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it didn't come out like I hoped. I ended up having to put a black undercoat in it under it so it would show up, and I didn't get the mix right.
Yes, that's true for the color shifting paint. The base has to be typically has to be black.
Well, guys, let me wish y'all a fond farewell.
That goes for the YouTubers too. Thanks all of you folks out there for joining us. We had a good crowd, and you guys in here wouldn't be a show if you didn't come. So thank you each and every one. And we'll be back Friday, same bat time, same bat channel, and I will hopefully not have to rush to get to the computer this time. Well, we had a major scare today. I thought she was shot. I did a 3-hour system restore before the show, and it finished up. It finished up 20 minutes before the show started.
Oh, that's pressure. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I bet your heart rate was elevated, huh? And your blood
Thank
pressure was
goodness
high.
for my free version of Macrium Reflect. It's a great program. Just an image. That's all I do twice a week, and I had to put Sunday's image on it, and so that way Holly didn't lose any of her during the week work, and I was able to restore everything to just like it was Friday
Really?
evening after we shut down.
That's a free software.
Yeah, Macrium, Macrium Reflect. And
Hang
there's
on.
different
Let me write
types
that
of
down.
backups. There's different types of backups you can do with it. And the learning curve is not hard at all. I used to use a Cronus True Image Home,
Yeah, I've seen that.
and the learning curve on it is tough. You had to go out and buy a rebuild for it in order to get it to work right, and you had to know little tricks with it. But Macrium, man, it's bulletproof. The only problem I see with it is I've noticed that some of my pictures no longer exist. I don't know if it's a Cronus or Macrium, but I have I have lost a few images during the years over having done two or three, maybe more backups.
Can you spell that for me again? I have a pencil and paper. I'm ready.
Macrium,
Okay.
Macrium Reflect. It's Reflect.
Okay.
And the
Thank you.
free version. That's all you need.
I'll check it out. I
And
have another computer.
I run a full computer image. I don't worry about backing up files as I go along. I just run an entire image every Sunday night and every Wednesday night. That way, at the end of the week, I've got two backups that I can go to that are no more than a week old. And that's what I had to do tonight. And if I forget one, then, but I just leave it plugged in, and you can schedule it to run as long as it's plugged into the USB drive. But I unplug it in between because I don't want some virus or something getting into it and raiding it. So if I ever forget to plug it in, I might lose a session. But I got enough backup drive on my external Seagate backup drive to
Right.
keep 5 backups without overflowing it. So I can go
I have
back
a
5
question.
iterations.
Rusty, you might know what I should do. Um, I have a desktop backup and it's full. It's like 3 terabytes and it's full, and so I'm stuck. And I don't know what to do. I mean, what do you do when it's full?
Well, with my Macrium, I've got a 2 terabyte hard drive, and I let it put as many backups as it'll hold and tell it what the maximum is. After that, it's programmed to delete the oldest one before it restarts the next one. So it keeps a stack of 5 with the newest at the top going all the time.
Okay. Yeah. Somehow I
Does
guess
that
I didn't.
answer your
Mine. I
question?
must have not set mine up right because my backup just says it's full, and it's like I'm like, and I don't know what to do. So it's not. I don't know.
If the instruction box I tick is when I don't remember exactly how it's worded, but if you've reached a certain point, the drive is full, just throw the oldest one away, and it always replaces it with the newest one, and the old one disappears. And I keep 5 of them, so the 5th one disappears every time it runs a new one.
All right. All right. Well, let's close the show out, and thank you, Rusty.
Sure thing, man.
Well, y'all
But there
take
ain't
care.
nothing like backups when the shit hits the fan. Now, there are ways to run backups that are better suited to if I were to have to buy a new computer, I would probably have to mine this one for specific data. And if this computer goes bad, I can just replace the drive in it, replace it, and it would be just like it was yesterday. But but a new computer is going to have different settings. So there's different options, and there's also a forum that you can go to talk to other Macrium users and find out how you want to set yours up.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Okay, people. Love y'all. Take care, and we'll see you back Friday.
All right, see you guys later. Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
And the YouTube stream.